two vehicles and they've both been hit. One was a 92-year-old woman and one was a 94-year-old man.
They'd like you.
Well,
One was down at Lowe's at the
Oh.
four-way intersection at cross Memorial Parkway there. It was the strangest thing.
It's
I
funny
was
like
hit by
that.
an elderly man.
Oh, well, that
And
intersection
he had
is.
put his
Front
foot on
stuff,
the gas
so,
as
yeah.
opposed to the brake.
I don't know if this woman might have done that because she ran hard.
And I mean, it didn't do anything in my vehicle, but I was concerned about him because he's
had to ask
elderly.
Alice.
And, but, so I called law enforcement. I said, look, you know, there's, I'm not gonna report anything. I said, my concern is him, that person. And it turned out he was 89 years old.
Yeah, just type in Tompkins, type
But
in
he
Ithaca
answered
City
all the
School
questions
tax,
just
Ithaca
fine.
City School District taxes,
Okay.
and
And I
the
thought,
site will come
I
up.
felt so
and it'll come
bad
up.
for him, but I was more concerned than anything else.
That was a website that she gave me.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
'cause
probably
I've
getting
looked at
called in for
before.
another test.
Well, no official report was taken, so
Oh,
it wouldn't.
oh.
But I would hope that family members would,
right.
you know, step forward because they can.
It always makes you wonder when your kids are gonna say, all right, Dad, give me the keys.
Yeah, yeah.
Our son was going, he was going on 96 toward T-Bird,
There you go,
and the
thank
woman was
you.
turning left on
you.
Perry City, and then she changed her
Yep, you
mind.
too.
And she went straight, she turned off her signal and went straight anyway. And then he was on his way to go around her. He was going about 45 at that point, but then he hit her, almost a stopped vehicle, at 45 miles an hour.
Ooh.
The whole hood of his car went into the windshield, into the car. It was, he had a Honda Civic. It was horrible. So they had to take him to Syracuse to St. Joe's, and he had collapsed lung and broken lung.
Oh my heavens.
It was horrible. It was just, and it was really just that she just changed her mind in the middle of, you know, in the one of the worst intersections we have here. It's crazy.
That and turning on the basement, that's not a good. very
Oh,
big
right.
one.
By the
People
professional
really-
building, yeah.
Yeah, they really run do it.
Hey, Marcus.
All the-
When you do a driver course, you know, if you go too fast,
Marcus.
they say if you wanna kill the ticket, you can do a driver course one time.
There's
So I did that
agendas
once
there?
in Dallas,
Sign on?
and they said, the only thing you gotta do is just don't get close to anybody. If you make sure you don't get close to anybody, you're not gonna get hurt. You know, 95% of the accidents are because you're too close to somebody.
Right.
I thought, you know, that's a really good idea, and I'm just gonna stay way back.
Way back, that's what I
Not
do.
try
If
and
you
do-
wanna pass me, you go right ahead.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm gonna putt along and I respect the road.
I'll call this meeting
Is
to
there,
order. We'll start
a
with the
relative of yours that lives at
pledge
the
allegiance to the flag.
Three-way intersection of Pool Road and,
I pledge allegiance to the flag
there's, I think
of the
they're on a
Republic
mailbox.
of America and
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our organizational resolutions say that special meetings will have the privilege of the floor, so we'll. Did anyone sign in for privilege of the floor?
Blank.
One, you said?
No, I said
No,
blank.
blank.
No.
I thought you said one.
No,
You said
sorry.
blank.
You don't have anything to say tonight, Marcus?
Well, I'll just say good evening if someone's got to say something.
Thank you, we'll keep it under 3 minutes.
Someday somebody's gonna come and sing a little song or, you know, just cheer us up.
Tap
hopefully.
dance.
Yeah.
Well, if you want this meeting to end really early, I can do that.
Next on the, I'm adding 2 things to the agenda, the CHIPS agreement and the solar project in Ulysses. Consent agenda tonight consists of audit claims and Resolution 28, the retirement payment. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? I move that the consent agenda be approved.
Second.
Mike seconds. Is there any discussion?
No.
Call the vote.
Councilperson Carpenter,
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein,
Aye.
Councilperson McGee,
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder.
Aye. We'll move on to audit of the town justice books under new business. Justice Poole is here. She's provided each board member with a annual report, which will be included in the minutes. And in your packet, each of you have a check sheet to help us through this audit process.
Okay, I didn't get a packet yet.
Oh, it's in your mailbox.
What's
Oh,
this?
but you got your mail the other day, I think.
Municipal corporation, 20 cents.
My recollection is the yellow one was the fire protection
You're okay.
budget warrant.
It is.
So the recollection is going okay so far.
It's a good sign.
So could you tell us where your accounts are held?
Tompkins Trust Company. There are two accounts, one regular account for the monthly reports and one bail account.
Are pre-numbered receipt forms issued for all collections?
Yes,
Are duplicate copies of receipt forms kept for court records?
yes,
Are receipts recorded up to date?
yes.
And the last recorded receipt?
One, 2, 2, 4, 2.
Henry, did you get that?
He did.
What is it?
Same
This
thing.
one?
And the
He just
date?
gave it to you. Oh, right here.
12.
16.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And the amount?
$168?
Even.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
until they raise the surcharge again.
Is the receipt book maintained in a manner to identify date received, payer, and the amounts of fines, fees, bail, and other categories of collection?
Yes,
Are deposits identified?
yes,
Are duplicate deposit slips kept for court records?
no,
Do deposit amounts agree with cash receipt amount?
yes,
Are deposits made within 72 hours of collection?
no,
Are deposits recorded up to date?
yes.
And your last recorded deposit?
In the regular account, it is $1.3, which was for December.
For the whole month?
Yes,
And the amount?
$1,344.
Even.
Correct.
I guess you only deal in even,
Yes,
don't you?
we don't have cents.
And let me ask you a question real quick. From what I remember, one of these needs to be done and then we all sign it. You don't need all of them signed out by everybody, right?
It needs to be one for the record.
Okay, that's what I remember.
So we have the Justice checking account. Pre-numbered checks used for all disbursements other than petty cash.
Yes,
And are all,
Never, and just as a note, there is never any petty cash.
I wouldn't think there's
checks.
petty cash.
No, because we do have a petty cash.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
Oh,
so we never.
Okay.
The only checks that are written out of the account, the regular account, are the monthly checks that go to you.
uh-huh. And those checks are signed by the justice?
Only, yes,
Yes. Are checks recorded up to date?
yes.
And the last recorded deposit?
You already went through that. Up above, I think.
That was the
There-
cash receipts book. So this is the justice checking account.
Oh, same thing, 1344.
I didn't receive that number prior to this. Is,
You wanted to know the last deposit made, wasn't it?
you said
Yeah.
13.
Yeah,
1344.
You said 1344.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And so this one's 1344.
Mm-hmm,
And it was for the month of December.
mm-hmm,
1344,
mm-hmm. 1,340.
300, the same as the,
Yeah,
interesting.
I imagine it's the same deposit number, 13.
Are bank accounts reconciled promptly after bank statements are received?
I'm sorry. Hang on. I'm sorry, what was that?
Are bank accounts reconciled promptly after bank statements
Yes.
are received? And so the last bank statement reconciliation for each account.
December?
And the date performed?
It was, actually, whenever, I couldn't tell you because it would have to be first part of January when Debbie gets us, cause she gets these offline, we don't get them in the mail anymore.
Mm.
So I'm not sure when Debbie gave them to us, but it's balanced.
But when she comes in, well, I don't know if she's gonna bring that.
I don't think she keeps track of the things that she gives it to us, but
Right.
soon thereafter, one of them,
Is a list of bail maintained?
yes.
Is a record of uncollected installments payments maintained?
We do not collect installment payments.
Dockets and case files. Are separate dockets maintained for various classification of cases, such as vehicle and traffic, criminal, civil, and small claims?
There are no, well, they're all kept on the SEI computer program.
Okay. I get a
We,
copy, but they're not separated. And
you
they're
don't get
by-
an actual docket, you don't get the actual
No, I don't get a
file.
docket.
Yeah, we have an actual 8.5 by 11 file where all the files are kept with the name, the docket number, address, all the notes, etc.
But it's by name, not by classification of cases.
Yeah, and they're kept, they're criminal, there's
Oh.
civil, and
Okay.
there's vehicle and traffic.
Okay. Are case files maintained for all cases?
Yes,
Are docket numbers maintained for all cases?
yes,
Do dockets for disposed cases appear to be complete?
yes,
Do dockets for disposed cases agree with amounts reported?
I have no idea what they mean by that. If they're disposed, it goes on the monthly report.
Yes. The
Yes.
report I get is the disposed cases.
That's correct.
Is accountability determined at the end of each month?
Yes,
Do accountability amounts agree with bank reconciliations and supporting information?
yes.
The last determination of accountability.
December 31st.
Reports to Division of Criminal Justice Services. Are reports made timely to the Division of Criminal Justice Services?
The end of every court day, yes.
The end of every court day. Has the court received any notices regarding late reporting?
No. And you would receive it as well if you were.
Oh, well, that's interesting to know. Are monthly reports made timely to the Justice Court Fund?
Yes. And that's provided, we provide proof of that, along with the monthly report and the check that we give you every month.
Do reported amounts agree with cash receipts and disbursement books?
Yes,
Do reported amounts agree with docket dispositions and case files?
yes,
Has the court received any notices regarding late reporting?
no,
Never have gotten a
that's
notice about that.
duplicitous.
Then the reporting to the Department of Motor Vehicles, information, and this is from what you said last year, information is submitted electronically at the end of every court day. The
Yes.
number of cases heard, the number pending for more than 60 days, and actions that have been taken are on the annual report from the court and is made part of this report.
That's correct.
That would be a fair statement. Overall evaluation.
And I have everything here if you would be happy, if you want to look at it. All of
Excellent.
it's all balanced.
I'm still a little confused about the two accounts. So you said that the last deposit was the same, 1344 and 1344. So it's the same account? Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
So this number, last reported deposit number 13.
I don't know where you got that.
Okay. Thought I heard that, somebody said that.
January 3rd was the date that the deposit was made. Maybe you should put it on.
Maybe that's it. But that says deposit number,
I
not
don't,
date.
I don't keep numbers on there.
What did you put on this deposit number? Last reported deposit number?
On what page? The first one?
Yes, it is in the first one.
Right here? None. I
Nothing.
put 1-3 for the date,
Yeah,
and then, because there's not
1-3,
necessarily a deposit
so
number,
that's
there might be a
probably
check
what it
number
was. It
if
was
she
a
was putting the
January
money
thing.
out to pay.
Gotcha.
There's no numbers on deposits.
No.
At the trust company.
that's probably.
I'm a little confused.
That's for you to sign, isn't it?
Only one of them gets, one copy gets signed by everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Betty, can I ask you a question?
You sure can.
I'm surprised by these numbers at the top, number of cases closed, number of cases opened,
Mhm.
pending cases. That's a lot. Are you,
She's a popular judge.
well, the question is,
Oh.
There's
are-
It's your
the
question.
majority, I can tell you probably the majority of them are vehicle and traffic,
right.
and a lot of them are equipment, inspections, you know.
Well, my question is, it's just you, we went from two judges to one. Are you feeling overwhelmed?
Not
by-
at all,
Okay,
not at all.
that's the main thing. As long as you're
Enfield went
able
from
to
3
keep up.
judges to 1?
2 judges,
Two, okay.
Good, that's
as
great.
has Newfield as well.
Right.
Now,
So we
Pardon?
seem to,
now,
Yes,
we seem to have been okay with our going from 2 judges to 1.
yes, and it was,
That was
very
carefully-
that was very popular in the,
That was-
task force that I was on as well.
not
And
that
to-
money municipalities have done it, but it was carefully documented prior. I
Uh-huh.
carefully documented it before I
Yes,
put it before the board.
And it was a money saving, it did save some
It was
money.
money saving, and it was done in full support and the cooperation of Ms. Poole.
And
Judge
the
Poole.
populace as well, got voted
Because it was
in.
voted on.
yes.
That's good.
Did they do a permissive referendum?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, we did,
They did.
Yes,
Yeah.
because the petition was filed,
right.
It was
Right.
filed.
so it
George
had to
something
have
or
been
other.
put on the ballot for the electorate to vote on it, and it was passed.
It was supported.
Mm-hmm.
And the fellow that I think was hoping for 2 judges was also
Running.
He was
running for
running,
judge,
yeah.
yeah. Although he came in 3rd, so it wouldn't have mattered for him anyways, but
Mhm.
in case maybe George something or other, was it?
How could he come in third?
Debbie was
Debbie
on there
Teeter.
too.
Yeah,
so-
Debbie Teeter.
Yeah. There were 3 people running for judge.
She would have been a great judge. Not that you don't, I'm just saying, if we had 2
No,
judges, she would have been a great
No,
judge.
that's,
And just for the board's information, Judge Poole gives me a report of her monthly activities, the disposed cases, and gives me a check for the fines that she's gotten for the month. And then it's 1 month lag time, right?
in other
The-
words, in January, for January's report,
Well, it's right,
I give the
Oh.
check to her no later than the 10th of February.
right.
And
But
this is
then,
what the
about
report
then,
is.
I get a bill from the state, but it's for 2 months back, and there is a bill in here from the state, and I forward a very, very, very large portion of the fines to the state.
Yes, I'm
and
hoping
we re-
TCOG is addressing that,
Yeah,
hopefully with,
it's on the current final task force report.
yes, because I had mentioned that, because it doesn't seem right that the majority of the money goes to the state. I mean, the surcharges alone are $93 per ticket,
And that all goes to the state.
and that
plus-
all goes to the
Plus a
state,
large,
plus another portion. And then the county gets all of the DWI money, every
It's
penny of it.
insanity.
Mhm.
So,
So just as an example, last January of 2016, the amount remitted was $1,337. Yes. Out of that $1,337, the state got $995.
jeez,
It so happened I didn't have any DWIs that had closed out that time.
yeah,
The town got 342.
Yeah.
So, that.
That's a
But
lot.
still had to keep the building open, pay your salary,
Exactly.
and your daughter's
Everything, yeah.
salary, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's absurd.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
absurd.
It does seem like a bit of a racket.
Well, and it's been this way for some time, and the judges have, expressed their concern about this.
yeah,
Because we all can understand the fiscal constraints of the town. And that's why when the unforeseen death of Judge Barricchio came about, I approached the supervisor and indicated that, maybe you should consider, one justice to kind of absorb or offset a little bit some of the expenses that the
yeah,
justice court incurs.
yeah. Which seems to have worked out well.
It has,
Yeah.
it has.
Yes.
I'm,
yes.
I hold court on
I
Monday
know.
nights, but I have held court on other nights to
Yeah.
accommodate people that it's
Yeah.
inconvenient for, or attorneys. And now, and I'm surprised because this year's report, we did submit a little bit more money than we did last year. And, but I've noticed a drop off of the arraignments, because of the first arraignment requirement now to have all, have an attorney present at all
Mm.
first arraignments, be it at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And so I've noticed that the officers, aren't as eager to
Yeah.
arraign.
Yeah, they don't wanna sit there
Right.
waiting for a attorney to show
And
up.
quite frankly, they can't.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're on minimal
Yeah.
staff too, so, it's hard all the way around.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very proud of the decision to reduce the justices here in the town of Enfield, and I'm glad to see that at least one other town has followed that lead. There are several other incredibly small municipalities that
And thanks
Yeah,
for
but-
working
but-
toward keeping the costs down, that's great.
Exactly, you know, we do our best,
Yeah.
and,
I didn't realize the state took such a cut.
oh,
yes.
Mhm.
It's a little extreme, it seems like.
mhm. And that's why I'm hoping that TCOG will address the issue and maybe, hopefully,
Have some
maybe,
traction?
get some legislation.
I don't
moving.
know whether they're gonna get any traction or not.
Well, you know, you gotta try.
Yep.
That's all you
Yep.
can do. If you don't try,
Otherwise, they'll
you'll
take
never know.
more.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
If
Or
nobody
they'll
says anything,
increase the surcharges in
Right.
order
Yeah.
to offset any increase
Yeah.
in
Need more
that.
money? Let's collect it from the towns.
And it's collected from
The people.
the people, the taxpayers. I mean, you know, I agree that, you know, if you break the law, if you speed, or if you're not following the law, fine, then there is a consequence. But I cannot justify, you know, with a $93 surcharge and, you know, on a, let's say, fail to keep right, and the defendant's vehicle was the only one involved, and it was a slippery road, and they went into the ditch.
Yeah.
I can't justify fining them and imposing a $93 surcharge, and they've got damage to their vehicle.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you do if they don't pay? If they can't
We
pay?
scoff law. Their license is suspended. We send it in to the state. The state in turn then sends a notice to them, giving them 30 days to rectify it. If they fail to do so, and you'll like this one, Mr. Carpenter. If in fact they do not, then their license gets suspended. Once that happens, in order to get that suspension removed, they have to either pay the fine plus a $70 suspension reinstatement. Same thing if they fail to appear. In order to have that suspension lifted, they have to pay that $70 up front. And then, once the fine is set, they have to pay the fine. So again, it's just
That's the way the world is going, I'm afraid.
It's
I'm
really
afraid,
problematic in a low-income community though, because you take away someone's ability to drive, you take away their ability to get to
Right.
work, you know, and to even pay a
But
fine.
by the same token, you know, they're not all local residents.
Right, that's true.
And the issue being is that, is it fair? Because a lot of, this was quite a discussion in the task force meeting. You know, if they don't pay their fines, do a confession of judgment and file it in the county clerk's office. Well, probably, I'm just hazarding a guess. probably 80% of the defendants that come before me with criminal matter are indigent. Okay? They don't have a car. They can't get a loan. They're on social services. They're on disability. So they could care less about that compassionate judgment. And it goes away after 10 years. So why is it fair for you, who has a job that works, or anyone else, to take responsibility for the, what it is you did, and not be able to go after, in some form or manner, be it community service, whatever. But community service on vehicle and traffic tickets is not available. It's not an option. So the only other alternative, and they still drive anyway when their license is suspended. So.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a catch-22, and it's becoming difficult. It's a very difficult, and the laws are changing all the time. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see the surcharges increase again. When I first started, they were $17.
Wow.
And they are up to $93.
What year was the $17 surcharge?
That was back in 1990,
That long ago.
and it's increased that much.
Beats the rate of inflation, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Mm.
state's money.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
No, that's great.
Okay.
That's really helpful.
You're welcome.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you. Good luck.
We'll move on to review of the town clerk's records. I'm having a terrible time with check boxes in open document. But
Take that yellow folder.
we'll overcome it.
Put it- I can move that and this out of the way. More space.
Oh.
Do you work for the highway department?
I help him sometime and whatever, chat with him. Gabe does, he's a neighbor.
Saw a snowplow go by today, and I was like, why? Yeah, I know, I just couldn't understand why. The snow was all plowed, there was no more snow coming, it was warm, and
Well, there may be some places that,
Our
one thing
ice
that's going on right
patches.
now is
Ice
they're
patches.
cleaning up all the odds and ends because it's gonna freeze. And once everything freezes,
Yeah.
then it's solid, and you can't do anything with it. So if they have places that they didn't catch
Or shoulders.
during the snow or
Yes,
something,
Cleaning
they
the shoulders.
cut back the shoulders.
once it freezes and gets solid, then it's really,
Was a wing down? Was a plow down?
yeah, it looked like, the wing was probably down, and I'm not sure about the plow, but, I mean, there was nothing there to plow,
Yeah.
at least on the road I was,
Yeah.
on Van Dorn Road.
Well, do you remember one time somebody asked that in, wasn't it Gabe?
Oh,
said
cutting
about
blades,
Cutting
yeah.
blades in
Yeah.
on the
Yep.
dirt roads
Yeah.
to wear them in.
Yeah, he wasn't doing
I was
that.
wondering if you understood what that meant, by the way.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, no, because he said he wouldn't do it
Oh,
on the dirt
okay.
road. He said he would only do it on a blacktop road anyway, and so he said he wasn't doing it on the Van Dorn Road.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because blades come when they're manufactured, they're like this.
Uh-huh.
When they get cut in, they have to get worn down to
Uh-huh.
that, so they feel the road correctly.
Yeah.
That's all.
I guess
I used to be a machinist. Anyway.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Alice.
I was more bothered by the trees, Henry.
What's that?
All those trees on Van Dorn that came down. Beautiful oak and maple trees.
Oh, yeah, me too. Well, I talked to Buddy about that. Yeah, he wants to cut trees down in front of my house too.
I understand it's part of their procedure, but boy, they were off the roadway. You can see those really
Are you
nice
talking about the ones south of Bostwick, or?
trees. Well, no, I haven't been there yet. The ones between Boston and Enfield Center, yeah. On the curve there. I understand
Okay.
why I've had kids run into them before. Sorry, Ann.
We'll start with the town clerk's cash receipt books. Where does the town clerk maintain her funds?
Tompkins Trust.
Is the cash receipts book maintained up to date?
Yes.
Is the cash receipts book maintained in a manner to identify date received, payer, purpose, and the amount, either individual or totals reference to subsidiary receipt records, building permits, driveway pipes, etc.?
Yes.
Are deposits identified?
Yes.
Do deposits agree with cash receipts amount?
Yes.
Are deposits made in a timely manner?
Yes.
Are different routes taken to the bank when the clerk is making a deposit?
No.
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 I'm just checking.
You're not worried about getting stopped and
Well,
robbed?
there's not too many different ways to go. I guess I could go left
I think that's for the big money people.
and where there's banks.
No, it won't be. It'll be picked up by risk management.
Well, I think the policy was made for the big money people. I think if risk management picks it up, it's just some way that they can raise their prices. They just need something to raise their prices about. They can gripe about that one.
Just glad of that.
So how hard is it to use two routes?
Well, pretty difficult, because when I leave here, I guess I could go down. Just doesn't make too much sense to me.
You know, you could just go left when you go out the door and then come back around, or right when you go out the
I
door.
could do that.
Or tomorrow you could just take a different road and then we can say that you did.
Right, I could go up Enfield Center Road
It just says-
instead of
It seems so
227.
ridiculous though to
Really
be
is.
playing that game with people.
I mean, it's,
To go from here to downtown. Yeah. Enfield
That's-
Center and then down Pool Road. That's where I
Yeah.
usually go home.
yeah, I could try that. Yeah, I could change my route.
You could go the way to the Florida Keys.
That too, ridiculous.
Get paid for your time as well.
Mileage.
Way around.
Yeah, mileage.
Are deposits recorded up to date?
Yes,
The last recorded deposit.
December 30th, 2016.
And the amount?
$378.
Is the cash receipts book totaled and summarized at the end of each month?
Yes,
Is the cash disbursement book maintained up to date?
yes,
Is the cash disbursement book maintained in a manner to identify amount disbursed?
yes,
Are pre-numbered checks used for all disbursements other than petty cash?
yes,
Are all checks signed by the town clerk?
yes,
Are copies of canceled checks returned with bank statements and maintained on file?
yes,
Are checks recorded up to date?
yes.
And the last recorded check, the number of the last recorded check,
1999,
and the date,
December 31st, 2016.
and the amount.
$22.50.
Okay, cash reconciliations. Are bank accounts reconciled?
Yes,
Are bank accounts reconciled by a second person?
no,
Does the reconciled bank balance agree with the cash balance record in the accounting records?
yes,
Last bank reconciliation for each bank account. The date performed.
January 10th, 2017.
That was for the month ending.
December 31st, 2016.
Is the accountability what the town clerk owes the supervisor determined at the end of each month?
Yes.
Does the accountability amount agree with the bank reconciliation and supporting records?
Yes.
Are monthly reports and payments made to the supervisor?
Yes.
Yes. Are monthly reports and payments made timely to other agencies?
Yes.
What other agencies do you send a report to?
New York State Egg and Markets and New York State Health Department. I'll switch it.
Hi, Virginia.
Nice.
Those are for what licenses, Alice? They're
Yes,
for,
marriage licenses and dog licenses.
And what's the dog license?
New York State Egg and Markets.
Ag and Markets. In your box, there's a worksheet that we're using.
Want me to grab it?
Yeah, if you don't mind, thank you.
Do reported amounts on monthly reports agree with cash receipts and disbursement book?
Not much there.
Thank you.
Are unused checks safeguarded?
Yes,
How?
locked in the filing cabinet.
This is for the next one.
Yeah, that's the next, you can grab this one too. I don't really need it.
Thank you.
Number on that.
Am I taking yours?
I don't need them, here, I'm fine, you just take them.
So Virginia didn't get her a copy?
I'm checking right now, I may have picked it up
She
yesterday.
was here yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not making mine out, Virginia, I'm just listening and paying attention, so, not a big deal.
Are undeposited check receipts safeguarded?
Yes,
How?
That's just for your,
double password protector computer.
This is what?
Mm-hmm, okay.
Double password
Protected computer.
protected. Are unissued licenses hunting and dog safeguarded?
Yes.
How?
The handicapped permits are in a locked filing cabinet, and the hunting and dog licenses are password protected on the computer.
They're in a locked what?
Filing cabinet.
Are receivable control accounts maintained?
No, I don't believe we have that.
Are revenues from town clerk fees compared with those of previous years?
Not generally, they can be easily.
Well, for the record, I do it before, when I'm making the budget. Overall evaluation. I would like to see the cash box reconciled by a second person. I think that when these books get audited, that will be in the report.
Can I ask, what was the response to our receivable control accounts maintained? Is it applicable?
I don't have any receivables.
Don't have any, so it's not applicable. Okay.
Yeah.
Would it be difficult to have the deputy supervisor do that?
Well, that was my suggestion, but Ann has said that we might be in cahoots and that wouldn't be appropriate, so that's why she doesn't do it. You told me that, so each year this question comes up, and each year that's the answer, so No, it'd be very
That's
easy
your
for her
answer.
to do it. Well, that's what you told me, so she doesn't do it, but I'd be glad to have her do it. There's 2 to 3 checks written a month, so it takes about 20 seconds to balance the account.
Well, I request that a second person,
So do you want the deputy clerk to now be the person that does that?
certainly.
Okay.
Sure you're not in cahoots?
No.
What is cahoots anyways? It's a good word, I like
Yeah,
that
it's a
word.
great word.
That's not a good
That cash box, do 2 people count that cash box prior to deposit?
I don't understand.
That cash box right back there. It's
Well,
got cash in it.
right, we make sure that there's the same startup at the end of each deposit, that we have $25 that we keep. And so whoever's doing the deposit will make sure there's $25 left in there, yes.
Well, that isn't my question.
Well, we have to, what we have printed off that we've received has to be what goes to the bank. Those are the reports that we do every week that show how much we're taking to the bank, and that's what goes to the bank. The bank tellers count the money we get the receipt from the bank teller stamped that that's how much we brought. to
You
them.
take that whole
No,
box.
no, I put it in a bank bag.
You don't count it here in this office.
Yes, we count how much goes to the bank and how much stays, yes.
Do 2 people do that?
No, not always, because sometimes I'm the only one here and sometimes Sue is the only one here.
Where's that question? Is that on the?
No, I'm looking up, I'm not looking at my paper.
No,
I'm
only
looking
one person
direct at
takes the
her.
money to the bank.
And
Yeah.
you just keep $25 in there? So is that just for like change for people when they come in and they get a license or pay a dog
Exactly.
fine or something like that?
So am I hearing you correctly, and your thinking thoughts are that 2 people should check the amount going to be deposited? And then make sure
Yeah, I
that
think
there's
an auditor
25
would say that. So now the deputy clerk is going to also look at the bank statements to reconcile them. Is that,
Sure.
is
Yes,
that,
that's what you would ask, yes, so that will now happen.
That route downtown, up Enfield Center Road, then you take a right on Sheffield and a quick left on Full Road. It's a pretty good route to get downtown, I think.
So, yeah, does that go down Elm Street?
Does it go down Elm Street?
I don't think you're supposed to announce it at a public meeting. Just a little thought.
You never know, Marcus thinking back there, how can I get some money in?
But he won't know which route she's taking.
That's
Right, 'cause,
true.
yeah.
Just a little thought.
Don't worry, I don't even know what you drive.
You know, they could just keep making the hoops and making more hoops and making more hoops. Pretty soon we just have to just sit in one place and not move, because there's just too many hoops around us.
Thank you.
Are you getting tired of doing it, Alice?
Some days not.
Well, don't stop.
I don't get tired of doing this part. This part I like.
I think I'd like the people part of it, and I'd like to,
Yeah, the minutes are what
yeah,
go on and
Yeah,
on.
one of these I have too.
that makes
I
sense.
don't think I have one of those.
If we could cut down those meetings, those minutes wouldn't take so.
That's right, yeah, that's exactly.
And last, we have the town bookkeeper, Debbie Kelly, with the chief fiscal officer's records. Do you need the table, or you
Nope,
just?
I don't need anything,
Okay.
just a chair.
All right. Enfield has 2 funds, and I see that that's probably incorrect. It's probably 3 funds, or is it 10 funds?
Well, it depends on how you want to classify it. You
Yeah,
have
right.
general
Right.
funds, you have highway funds, but you also have a fire fund
We
and
have a fire fund.
trust and agency fund.
Yes. And we also have cemetery funds, and so I really should probably expand upon this first 3.
So the general fund comes with, you know, the escrow account, the cemeteries, new building, town
Reserve
hall
fund.
reserve, the regular savings and checking account. Highway has highway fund, savings and checking, and bridge reserve and equipment reserve. And then you have your fire and your trust and agency.
Financial records are kept on a Williamson software program which can sync with the New York State Comptroller's Office required reports.
Correct.
And all the accounts are kept at the Tompkins Trust Company, Ithaca, New York.
Correct.
So, cash receipts book. Is the cash receipts records maintained up to date?
Yes.
Is the cash receipts record maintained in a manner to identify date received, payer, purpose, and amount?
Yes.
Are deposits identified?
Yes.
Do deposit amounts agree with cash receipt amounts?
Yes.
Are deposits made timely?
Yes.
Are deposits recorded up to date?
Yes.
Is the cash receipts book totaled and summarized at the end of each month?
Yes.
And that's the supervisor's report, right?
End of month report.
End of month reports.
Statements.
Okay, now we're on to the cash disbursements book. Is the cash disbursements book maintained up to date?
Yes.
Is the cash receipts record maintained in a manner to identify the amount dispersed, either individually or totals referenced to abstracts payrolls?
Correct.
Yes. Are pre-numbered checks used for all disbursements other than petty cash?
Yes.
Are all checks signed by the supervisor or the deputy supervisor?
Yes.
Are copies of canceled checks returned with bank statements and maintained on file?
Only, not the original check, just the scanned
Copies are
Yeah.
returned.
Yep.
Are all unused checks properly controlled?
Yes.
They're in a locked file
Locked
in
file
her
cabinet.
office.
Yep.
Is the cash disbursement record summarized and balanced?
Yes,
Are checks recorded up to date?
yes. But
And-
I don't know what the last one is.
You don't know what the last one is?
I didn't,
You didn't do it.
no, I didn't look at this because I was doing the W-2s, filing them, and on the phone with the people to try to get the W-2s filed. So that's why I'm late.
I didn't bring,
So I'm not sure what the last check number was. They were all, the last checks were all December. What was that, December date, 22nd? Because we didn't do anything after Christmas. It was like
yeah, it was about the 22nd, and then none of them got to NYSEG. Well,
December 22nd.
it finally got to NYSEG. Well, that's easy enough to fill in this answer, correct?
When will we do that?
At the next regular meeting.
Sure.
Are bank accounts reconciled?
Yes,
Is the reconciliation performed timely after the bank statements are received?
yes,
And the last bank reconciliation for each bank account?
was 12/31/16.
For the month ending December,
Yeah, and I did them on January 2nd.
does the reconciled bank balance agree with cash balance recorded in the accounting records?
Yes,
Other concerns, does the total year-end recorded cash agree with that reported in the annual financial report?
I have not done the annual
I was gonna
financial
say,
report.
we haven't done it yet, so I'm not sure.
That's, I'm working on next couple weeks, that's gotta be filed by February 28th.
Are receivable control accounts maintained?
We only have receivables that come in from, yeah. Like the town clerk and the justice, those receivables come in on time.
And we
And whatever,
we maintain a record of that.
yep,
Is there indication that the receivable control accounts reconcile to the detailed subsidiary records?
they do.
Is an investment record maintained?
Only investment record I have is what the bond payments, when they're due. I don't have for investments.
I have gotten a report from the bank on how the investment records are maintained. It would take me a while to find that letter. The easier thing would be to just go get another one with my friend at the bank that I might be in cahoots with.
Never know.
You never know. Because I made the bank write me a letter last year, early last year.
I remember that.
Well, I'll ask for another one pretty soon. 'Cause I think you're supposed to do it yearly. I don't know.
Is that something you can get and share at the next meeting with us, or is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is an indebtedness register maintained? We get a bill
For the bond,
for the, well, that's our indebtedness. That's our only
Bond.
indebtedness
I
is the
just-
bond.
yeah, I just have a paper that tells me how much is being paid out each year,
Right,
so.
but it says all 20 years. It wouldn't take me very long at all to find that piece of paper.
Just what, the amortized table?
Yes. I was trying to think of that word.
Well, we get a letter, it doesn't change. I mean, it's set for the
It's
the
set, but the
duration.
dollar amount changes.
The dollar amounts change,
Right,
but it,
There's set times that go out in April and October.
right. Are property records maintained? Not that you know
I don't have the property records.
of. The records are not up to date, because we don't have, an inventory of everything, I don't think. Are all the fixed assets included in the records?
Only what I get for paying on vouchers, I don't have anything else.
Huh. Guess we better. Interim financial reports. Are interim reports prepared?
They can be a mess.
If requested? Are reports distributed to the board and department heads?
I pass reports to Alice and then she distributes, sends them out.
She sends them out by email.
Yes. Are payrolls approved by department heads?
Yes,
Are pay rates in accordance with board resolution?
yes,
Is leave time accounted for?
yes.
So, we need to have a more formal file on property, I guess. Do you have copy of deeds and stuff like that in your file, Alice?
We have some deeds, yes.
You have some deeds.
I don't know what ones you'd be referring to.
Deeds to town properties.
Right, but we have some for some properties. I'm not sure if we have for all
Yeah.
or not.
This actually asks if physical inventories are taken and compared to the records. Perhaps that would be a good task for this year.
Yes. I have the assessment office. I don't know whether I have the town hall or not. And I
Print it
think
off
there's
again.
What would that entail?
the town hall.
No, physical inventories taken and compared to the records.
Well, there's not very many. I mean, if we,
Well, you look around and you count those file cabinets.
Number of computers, I mean,
Right,
just also
right.
anything, is there a dollar limit or a dollar seat rent threshold?
There might be.
No.
And what do you call this, office inventory? Property inventory? Counting the file cabinets, counting the tables.
Do they really want that? You really want that detail?
Well, you need it. What if it burns down?
they asked
What are
for
you gonna do with insurance?
fixed assets.
Right.
Fixed
well.
assets, and what are fixed assets? It's not that file cabinet.
I assume it's property.
Your fixed assets are like your office equipment that you buy, it's basically what you're buying out of your 200 account. Is your office equipment, your computers,
That's
bought a
fixed,
truck,
that's fixed asset,
fixed assets.
even though it moves.
Right. 'Cause it's a
No,
his
table-
equipment,
tables
any
will-
other equipments that highway has for a dump truck, a plow, you know, the excavators, rollers, whatever, all of that's fixed
But he's
assets.
got lots of fixed assets.
How about if,
Normally I've seen
we get a definition of fixed assets? I'd be happy to do that.
dollar limit or dollar ceiling or.
Just a matter of how
Okay.
small you wanna go with it.
Right.
What
But
I
if
do
we're
at the town
talking
of it,
about
the
like
gets
an
everything.
insurance.
So I don't know if there's actually dollar limit because
Like,
we're a bigger
my own
municipality.
experience,
Usually
federal
insurance
state
companies
grants
will-
inventory.
they will give you-
Yeah,
You just do form for them.
so I think it just depends
Might
on
come in top of it.
how you wanna define fixed assets. and if
Usually you'd
you
say
wanna set
miscellaneous
a limit.
office.
This is our inventory for the
$500
historian and for the town clerk, if you wanna see what our inventory looks like, just if you're curious.
I have one for the code office.
It would just be interesting to know what they would expect would be the definition for property records
Right.
and what we
Yeah.
would need, what their expectation is for us to have.
Any other questions you'd like to ask the bookkeeper?
Do you have time to help with the budget, usually? Are you too busy too?
I can always help out with a budget, just need to let me know.
Okay,
When
good,
you have budget meetings, I can always come.
great, great. It would be nice to have a hand on it, would be good. Does it fit within your salary hours, or did this be an extra, what do you think?
Well, geez, if I can get more money out, no. No, it'll fit in with the hours I do for the
Right,
month.
that's right.
You know, beginning of the year, it's always more hours
Busy,
for
yeah,
certain things, then as the summer
Right.
goes on, it's a lot quieter,
yeah.
not much going on.
But then budget season happens
So
kind
like out of
of
government
fall,
records
so
that
that's
are-
not so bad,
Yeah,
yeah.
the property
Yeah,
records.
it's kind of like a good time.
Of this
Yeah.
property, of this one, this is town clerk's office, but
Yeah.
there's a highway department and then there's a community building as well.
And that
I have
includes all
the
that.
judge has hers, and I have the code office, and downstairs, oh, I guess downstairs has never been done, so.
Let me see it for a second. This goes with it. That's historian.
There were, there was someone here this year regarding the books and stuff from the comptroller's office.
State comptroller was
It was a
So-
very limited audit.
So were
It
there,
was not an audit of the books.
were there did you speak with them?
I only spoke with him enough to go over things that are on my computer, the paperwork I keep and everything like that.
You were on the
I don't think so.
entrance interview.
So when you spoke with them, did they have any concerns with anything on that end, on this end that you work with? Were there any suggestions that they gave you that would be good for everyone to know? Was there a report done that we
I
should
think they're
have
still
access to?
doing their report.
There is a
Painting on the wall.
Painting. Oh,
confidential
gotcha.
draft report
Behind us.
that I can get you. I wrote my responses, and I would say May, we might get the final back. However, this audit was only of buying practices.
Okay.
It was not of the books.
Mhm.
So it's limited to
Like that, it's a lot of money.
buying practices.
Yeah, so I just, you know, basically showed him what I had, went into the computer, showed him. what I needed
Is
to
that-
know. I just pretty much.
Virginia thinks that map's worth a lot of money, but I don't see it
So
on
but did
here.
they have recommendations for you in particular for anything that?
There's that painting's on here, right?
Nothing in particular, the only thing I did ask
That's
is
listed on
about
here.
the highway guys signed in their time sheets. Or time cards.
Hmm.
He said that is a good thing to do. I know New York State retirement system has come down on some municipalities about making sure that the highway guys, or anybody, is signing their time cards or time sheets to make sure that they know that they actually say, yes, I agree to those hours that I worked. The highway guys have not been doing it here. They suggested that to me after I brought it up to him. We're still at this point, but he doesn't do it, so. Kind of limbo, but, most of the other things were just asking how I did certain things and how the payroll went and how I put certain things in the accounting, but that's about it.
But that wasn't what the audit was about.
No.
Well, it would be nice to see the report so we can see what was recommended, what things would.
I will get you a copy of that report. The draft. Oh, and I'll give you a copy of my reply.
That'd be
It's easier. Any other questions of Debbie?
Will you provide a report like you did last year to be part of the minutes?
I could. What kind of reports did I do last year?
I don't remember, we could look back. I mean, the Justice and I can both print off, a report that looks like that from Williamson Law.
Basically just needs a supervisor's report.
Yeah.
You probably, yeah,
Yeah,
for the end of the year.
which you should already have when I gave you the end of month reports for December. That's gonna be the end of year.
That shows the total figures for the year, not just December.
That'd be for everything up till December 31st.
So I'll put that in there, if that sounds good to you.
Yep. The next project is the audit report to the
Yeah.
state and
All the W-2s are out.
W-2s are out. I just sent them off to the state. And,
The audit, or the warrant was approved tonight.
yeah, I'll come back in tomorrow night and do that, so we can get those checks out.
Okay, I'll get with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we should be back on track with everything else.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Guys, ever any questions, always just call me or stop over there if I'm
Oh,
not
I've,
around, just call me on my cell phone and let me know.
I've got the property, I've got the check from Alice. I left you a copy of it.
I got the copy, that's why I asked you, I said, there
Where's
is
the
no
check?
check there, but there's a copy. Did you, you didn't deposit it?
I didn't, but I will tomorrow morning.
Okay. Can you divide it up?
Oh, yeah.
Um, just do this.
Oh, you're gonna write it. Okay, good.
Yeah, well, that's pretty easy,
Oh, good.
but
They cringe when they see me coming.
you just have to get numbers
If you ever need any
from
more
them.
file cabinets or desks,
Yeah,
they
okay.
come in all the time.
So I'll go into their savings
The
account.
real old schools.
Oh, yeah,
Always
okay.
have lock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you
With a
can replace the
key.
lock.
And then
easy.
that way,
But, yeah, you can replace
summer it all
the
out.
lock nuts.
Okay.
With a new
Thank
key.
you. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Sounds good.
Right. Well, they come in the junk all the time, so.
I want a copy of these final reports, so do you wanna make the copies, or you want me to make the copies, Alice?
Are the ones that you've been writing? I can make a copy. If they're, once they're complete.
Put it in my box.
Do you need to fill out the numbers from Debbie first, though, before they're complete? But if you want to look at the other ones, you can take those two. This one needs to be, we need the justice one. This is chief fiscal officer that needs. This is Deb,
That's Debbie's.
so I need the justice one. And then that one, as soon as the numbers are filled in, make that a part of the document.
I think in your box I put a hard copy of this thing from Heather McDaniel.
Do you have a copy we can make for the public? Or if you're gonna discuss it?
Tompkins County Industrial Development Agency. Does anybody want to make a comment to her about this proposal?
Yes. How do we go about making comments to her?
You can do it individually, or we can do it as a board.
Well, if I just say things, it's not gonna get us anywhere, right? Because there's no point in saying it just as a board, then we gotta get it to her somehow. So, should we talk about my comments and come up with a final comment?
There is a start of a process.
Start the process. Sounds good. Well, let's go to page, first page, under purpose. I understand that this is just meant to be encouraging solar development. And while I think that's a good idea, I think that these goals that they've set and all the people that I've talked to about these goals that they've set are seemingly way beyond the current likelihood of New York State in the position that we're in with the types of renewable energy that's available right now. So I do have a concern about these numbers that Cuomo has set, and the people that I've talked to in government that have looked at these also have said, this seems like it's really, really way beyond what is possible. And what that means, therefore, is that it's likely that the state is going to keep making laws to make it possible that override towns' jurisdiction over how things will happen in their communities. For instance, the wind law that they just passed, where if you're over 25 megawatt, you pretty much lose your local ability to have any say in what happens in terms of wind generators. And the state has a board of 3 people that decides whether or not the wind generators can happen, and you don't really have a say in it. I think that's likely to happen more and more as time goes on. And it certainly isn't going to happen in New York City. It's going to happen in places like Enfield and all the places out in the country that have room to put wind generators and solar panels all over the place. So, well, I'm all for solar panels and have them all over my place. I still think that just making a policy that says you got to do this, and then saying you figure it out, and then when it doesn't happen, saying, well, we're just going to make it happen. Heck with the little guy, we're just going to do it. Is really, really, really poor government. And for us to sign on to that is, I think, just supporting poor government. So that's what I feel about number 1 and number 2. You want me to go on from there, or should we talk about that?
So you don't think that the Tompkins County Industrial Development Agency should have a commercial solar phototechnic policy?
Actually, what I think is that starting with towns, going on to counties, going on to regions, these are really good things to happen, that we have policies and that we have some say in this process. But I don't think that anybody that I've seen so far really pays attention to it in any depth, other than to say, we like it, it's great stuff, let's do it, and go ahead and dump it on us, Mario, or Andrew, sorry. Back in the Mario days.
I don't know that Mario would have done that.
Yeah, Mario was our former governor.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I think we have to have more say rather than less say, and so I think this to me sounds like somebody with their pie in the sky thinking of the, well, let's do it. Let's just make a policy that says we're all for it. And I would like to see this thing be 27 pages long and say, here's what you can do, here's what you can't do. This is our town, this is our county. Don't come telling us how to do it. This is how we think is okay to do it, and we don't want you to mess with us in ways that are damaging to us. We want this to happen, but we want to have some control over it. That's what I think.
This is about taxation.
Among other things, yeah.
No, this is about
This is about
taxation.
their ability to take our power away to have input into a pilot agreement.
When you establish precedent, you have a policy that says, okay, here's what we want to do. Get half of our renewable power, 80% by 2050, okay? So you establish that policy. You set it up in relation to taxation, okay? So then somebody comes along in the legislature or in some group outside there saying, well, wait a minute, what are you doing? Why are you doing it this way? And they say, well, it's already set up. This is how we did it with the taxation. So this is how we're going to do everywhere else. And the guys in the legislature are sitting in their seat twiddling their thumbs and saying, yeah, they already did it that way for the first time with the taxation. Why don't we just do it that way with the rest of it too? And they don't pay any attention. That's the way our government works typically. That's what I see anyways. So I think even approve it in relation to taxation without saying, wait a minute, you guys are not thinking straight, is foolish on the part of towns and it's foolish on the part of counties. I think we need to be paying more attention. And I think we need to be giving some feedback to these people, state government, county government, federal government, all those fools in Washington as well, and saying, don't do this to us anymore. This is bull.
Where do these papers say that we're losing our right to control
Well,
what gets built
I'll
here?
read these to you. I don't really trust the wording here. Administer a single countywide uniform tax exemption policy allowing municipalities to collect, I love this, uniform tax exemption policy allowing municipalities to collect long-term predictable payments in lieu of taxes. So it's a tax exemption for a business that allows us graciously to have a pilot agreement to get stiffed.
To get money that was already due us.
Exactly. So really, the wording of this is really lovely. And then here's the other part: long-term predictable payments in lieu of taxes without the burden of developing and administering pilot agreements at a municipal level. I don't think it's a burden to work for the best interests of the residents of the town financially. So, I mean, it seems irresponsible to give that power away to the TCIDA. I'm already so dissatisfied with the wind farm agreement that the previous board and the IDA developed with what the town gets as opposed to all the other, or the other two municipalities. And, in lieu of a huge amount of money, the actual amount of money for the amount of energy and time and effort and money that we will end up spending on the project, it's just not adequate. So I would hate to have the county just have carte blanche to just make decisions for our municipality. Assist project developers by offering a single countywide tax exemption policy, eliminating the need to negotiate pilots and with multiple taxing jurisdictions.
Which is just giving away more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To enhance developers' prospects for financing community distributed generation projects by offering a uniform pilot structure that is simple, predictable, and more appealing to lenders. Well, the issue, I'm not worried about the lenders. The issue with regard to pilot agreements is that if we're making it easier for them by giving away anything that we might have in return for that, and giving away our power for that, it isn't fair to the residents to not have any input on a regular basis when a big project like this comes into town. It just totally steals our ability to of home rule. It really does.
And as you go on to the policy part of it, basically what they're saying is that here, eligible projects, commercial scale, and this is bad language to start with. This policy provides incentives for off-site solar projects that provide renewable energy benefits to residential and commercial customers. Eligible projects, commercial scale projects, I don't know what they mean there, eligible projects are commercial scale projects, or what? What's that?
Projects, commercial scale. I think there's a comma missing.
Yeah,
I
there's
see.
something missing there. Generally 2 megawatts or less, as outlined in state law. Types of eligible projects include community distributed solar, shared solar, and offsite generation projects that have a wholesale power purchase agreement with more units. So those 2 projects are the ones that get all of the juice. They get all the money, they get all the attention. Those are the ones that the people that come in from the outside, as well as some of the people on the inside, like Renovus, are taking all these huge tax credits and incentives, selling them to outside companies, making enough money to pay for the whole thing before they even put it in. And then they're putting it in, making money for putting it in as well, and then they're getting rich off our tax incentives is what they're doing. And it's our money
We're
that they're
paying
getting
for it.
rich off of, right?
So if they, let's say like Delaware comes to town, they're from downstate. So they come to the area.
They're not from out of state, I
I
do
said
not believe.
downstate.
Well,
They're
in
from
an email it
downstate.
said out of state.
I don't think so. I think they're from downstate. I don't think. I thought
I'm
that they were
correcting
from-
the email,
Oh, okay.
because I believe it said out of state. I do not believe they are out of state. I
Yeah,
believe they are a New York State.
Right,
uh,
but they're not
company.
from here, so they're coming to a town that has like statistically one of the lowest sun availability rates, you know, so they come to this town because we don't have any regulations for any solar at this point. So it's easy for them to come in, and if they have this agreement where they can just go to the county and just get a
Right.
pilot without any discussion or argument, you know, we will have companies like that. When Renova's coming in, they put in a solar farm, they employ people locally. That's a local business. This company, how are they making money? Our tax incentives.
They're making money from the tax
That's
incentives.
right.
That's what they're doing,
That's
yeah.
right.
That's where the money comes from.
Right. So it just really takes away our control and our ability to support local businesses to do this work. And we have a lot of local businesses who can do this work.
If it costs them less than $3 a watt to put this in, which it does, because I know what it costs to do that. So it costs them less than $3 a watt to put it in. They write the contract for $9 a watt to do it, and that's the way they do it. They write the contract up for $9 a watt because they can justify that. They put in the contract to places like NYSERDA or whoever's doing these tax incentives. They get a 30% tax incentive. That 30% tax incentive they can sell to anybody they want to sell it to.
Mhm.
So they've just about gotten all of their money back just in the
Just
tax
in the
incentive.
incentives, right.
Then they go ahead and sell the system to somebody, and they
And
don't,
who knows who that is?
whoever it is, they don't care, and they don't care what happens to it after it's in. It's just like, we made all our money, we don't need any more money from you guys, we're getting rich off of the tax incentive. And then, and it's all our money. It's just, you know, I pay my taxes every year to these people that put their money in their pockets. And, you know, the great thing is, just like with wind, you can justify it. Oh, climate change, global warming, oh, we have to do this stuff. Just like with the wind farm. If that wind farm didn't have the justification of global warming and renewable energy and climate change behind it, everybody in Ithaca would be out here saying, don't let that wind farm happen. All these guys would be supported and saying, why do you do this? It's like fracking. If they were pumping gold out of the ground instead of making electricity with it, everybody would be against it because you're hurting these poor local people. But they're not. Oh, they're doing this wonderful renewable energy stuff, so we can't stop
Okay, I
them.
want to hear from some other board members. Do you have any opinion on this?
I haven't had time to review it and think it over yet, but
You have.
I think Mike's making some valid points, and I'm gonna have to look into it a little further. Basically, the Tompkins County Industrial Development Agency is asking us to sign on to this plan here.
No, they respectfully request comments by February 8th. And it tells you where to mail the comments.
Okay, I would like somebody to tell me what these 2 sentences mean, okay? Because I don't understand. Property tax. Real estate taxes on the increased value resulting from improvements are partially abated over a 20-year period. The annual payment in lieu of taxes pilot is $8,000 per megawatt of the facility's nameplate capacity with a 2% increase each year. Maybe I'm just tired, but I can't follow that sentence all the way through. So if you could explain to me what that means, that would be really helpful. I don't really understand it.
So
You know what a megawatt is?
Yep. Know what a pilot is. Know what a 20-year period is.
And
I know all the words. I just don't understand how they put them together and what they actually mean.
So
What is
that's
that?
how they figure it.
Well, what does that actually mean? Is all. Pretend I'm a 3-year-old kid and you're trying to explain it to me.
beyond the value before the solar farm is there.
Okay,
Okay, so real estate taxes on the increased value resulting from improvement,
right.
okay, are partially abated over the 20-year period.
What does that mean, partially abated?
Partially abated means that just like with the wind farm, it's like however many, $1.5 million worth of tax that we would have collected,
Right.
we have agreed on a ridiculous amount instead. That's an abatement.
Okay, got that. All right, let's go
So
on.
they fight down in Ithaca all the time when they're putting up some great big
Right.
Right.
building.
The shopping
Right.
center or something.
Yeah.
And this town in past history has given 100% abatements to incoming, no taxes for 5 years on companies that have come to town.
We might not be responsible anymore as
Yeah.
far as what our
I'm
budget
telling
looks like.
you the history in Enfield.
So the annual
appreciate that.
payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot, is $8,000 per megawatt of the facility's nameplate capacity, which I understand, with a 2% increase in yield. So the annual payment in lieu of taxes, the annual payment of,
That's what they agree to pay per megawatt in lieu of taxes.
right, so basically this is, all these things they're talking about up here, this is the detail? This is the done deal?
Right.
This is the deal, okay.
So this is what this all fleshes down into. So all of this, you are surrendering all of this to the county
Right.
to make the decision for you.
So,
That's
No,
where
to
I
this
the
is what the
Industrial
decision
Development
is.
Agency,
Well,
not
the
the county.
Tompkins County Industrial Development Agency, who
It's a
determines the ad valorem tax value of for each municipality. So this is what the deal is that they will.
so what I
do.
don't understand is why $8,000 per megawatt, and how does that compare to what we would have gotten in taxes for the same thing? I mean,
It depends on what the value of the property was before they put the solar farm on it and what the value is increased to.
right, so
Based
how,
on what the solar farm looks like when they put it
so
on.
how can we know if that 8,000 per megawatt is a good number for us to go with or not?
I guess we're supposed to trust them.
Can we ask?
We would have to know the approximate value of an 8,000
Right, but-
megawatt solar
Yeah.
farm.
Right, but we don't,
we
that's,
don't know.
that's not
I
in here,
have a problem
it's all,
going back to, the home rule thing that Beth mentioned, 4 and 5, and 6, well, that just enhances developer's prospect, but it really just takes away any part of our participation or our say-so. And nothing is saying there that they will do something. May allow is quite different wording than they will do something.
Right. And with the pilot agreement that we have with the wind farm, that information was provided by Black Oak. The averages from area towns that had, or other New York State towns. So that information was garnered from them and then used to their advantage in the pilot agreement to make the assessment of how much that pilot agreement should be per megawatt.
so 8,000 per megawatt, but who does that go to? They don't say who it's going to.
Well,
It's not going to us.
what they do, they
It's
split it. There is an ad
There
valorem
are
split
three-
between the school
There are
district,
three,
the
uh,
county, and the town.
But they're not saying what that is, right?
It's a set number. It's like, I think it's like 11% to the county, it's like 68% to the school district, and
It's like our
20%
taxes.
to the town, right? So it's
So it's a set
general
formula.
number. It's a little fluctuating every year, but it's basically
Right.
the same.
So to me, reading between the lines, if I was writing this, I would say, how can I sell this? How can I can say $8,000 per year. And then if you're in the
And
town,
that's-
you're saying, oh, good, we're gonna get $8,000 per year from Mega, but you're not. You're gonna get 20% of that $8,000 per year, so you're gonna get
Right.
$1,600 per year per megawatt, which is some money, but it's not, it's kind of,
Puny.
One thing that puzzles me is it says the taxes on the increased value are partially abated. Wouldn't it be more accurate to say they were substituted?
Where are you looking?
Bottom,
What number?
Property
Property
tax.
tax.
It says the increased value
yeah, you're right,
are
Henry.
partially abated, but there is not gonna be any tax on the increased value, it looks like. It's gonna be substituted by a pilot agreement, it looks like.
Well, the abatement is that meaning. So that's like, the actual amount is set aside, and this is what we do in lieu of that.
Which means they're not partially abated, they're.
There,
it's just-
partially is a bad word.
It's bad
for that.
language,
Right.
yeah, bad language. That's what it is. So, can we go on from here to my last one?
Certainly.
Fees, maybe you can tell me what this means.
What are you reading, Mike?
This one,
Last page.
last page, back of the page, okay. The applicant is responsible for paying the IDA administrative fee at the time of closing. The fee will be equal to 0.50%. Now, does that mean 0.5%? And if it is, why doesn't it say 0.5% instead of saying 0.50%? Does that mean 50%? What does that mean, that 0.50%? Because that's,
I would, if I may say, 0.5% would be 0.05, if I were looking at it.
but it wouldn't have a percentage after,
No.
right? So to
Right, it would
me,
be 50%.
so
It's
to
done at
me,
zero, it looks like.
somebody made a mistake here, and I don't know if they're saying 0.5% or if they're saying 50%.
Right,
So it just wasn't well done.
It can't be 50%.
No,
no.
Well, no, it could be 50%, because listen
The
to what that
value of
is.
expenses
The
that are
value
positively
of the total
impacted.
value of expenses that are positively impacted by the incentives. So I don't know what they mean.
Hmm.
The applicant is also, yeah, but I don't really know what they mean by saying equal to the total value of expenses that are positively impacted. What does that mean? Expenses that are positively impacted by the incentives.
I don't know what
I
that
don't
means.
understand what that sentence means.
Looks like it reads half of 1%.
Do you understand that sentence, Marcus?
I would have said that was a half of 1%.
yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah,
right.
it's just the zero is for significant.
But what do
Yeah.
they mean by, of the expenses that are positively impacted by IDA incentives? I don't understand that wording. I don't know what, how are expenses positively impacted?
Yeah, I don't know what that means either.
Again, I'm probably tired, but I'm just,
Sounds like ballot wording. You know how they
Yeah, I
twist
don't know what
something
they mean.
upside down in
I
order to
just
get
don't
you to
understand.
vote the wrong way for it.
yeah. So therefore, I wouldn't want to approve something that I don't even understand the language that it means.
Okay, well,
So
I
those are my
suggest by February 8th, you email your comments and with your title. Or you can write them to the IDA board or email them to Heather.
Did we get an email address from Heather?
Yep, in the second paragraph in the cover letter.
Right.
Great, okay. So is that okay with the board that I just
Yes.
email my
Yes.
comments? Okay.
Yes.
So I won't be in town. on
Communication is
February
good.
25th.
I'll probably email comments
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
Okay, all of you, got Beth's suggestions for wording for, we're on to the lawyer services bid.
I don't think I have that from you, sorry. Did that come on the town website?
No, it was in an email.
Email, the
What was
15th,
in a town email?
yes,
Is that the one you just sent? The one you just sent? Yes.
15th.
No, I sent one the other day that had a list
Yeah,
of
I'm sorry, I missed it.
potential things to include.
I thought I opened up everything from
Can
you.
I ask, is Heather McDaniel, Heather Filiberto?
yes.
Yes.
Oh, I remember it, I did read it. It's been a while.
When was it sent?
15th of January.
I didn't make a copy.
I was curious, are you curious about the responders' schooling?
The what?
Vita, you know, what experience they've
The
had.
responder.
Oh, sure.
Are you interested in what other municipal work they currently are doing and have done in the past?
Yeah, I'd love to know.
And then I want, now, this is an RFP, is that the correct terminology?
Is that what we call it?
Usually it's solicitation of bid for services.
A
Isn't that what we-
solicitation of bids for services.
Legal services.
And is it just for the board meetings?
No,
No, it's for legal services.
It's for all legal services for the town.
solicitation of legal services. Okay, I need some more explanation of C, labor and employment law issues arising from common law and New York laws. So that's all New York laws?
So they need to be familiar with municipal law in New York State.
Well, that's not what it says in C. Nor does it say that anywhere in the list.
I thought it did say municipal law in there.
Well, you have to bring that to my attention because I can't
I think it
find
did.
it.
I know, look in
If a guy came to our meetings, what time would we want him to show up?
That's the thing. I think that we should like designate a specific
I
time
think
that
so
would be
too.
good for him
Yeah.
to be there when we generally would have questions. Or it could be like midway through a meeting or,
You're skipping over here. Back to what you want in the proposal. We'll talk about specifically about Guy when I get through this.
Okay.
New York town law.
Mhm.
Is that's what you mean by municipal law?
municipal law
that's
in
what
New
you
York
mean.
State. So,
Uh,
they would, New York town law, but also how a town functions within the boundaries of New York State. Our obligations to the state, they'd have to understand state law, which I imagine if they are.
And then, is there any board member, L, are there any other specific topics that we regularly address outside of these that are listed? Anybody got another notion?
Personnel or looking to see.
Labor laws.
Labor laws.
Labor
that
laws
all
in
up,
there.
okay.
What are you
Um,
reading?
perhaps, code, is that on there?
Code
Yeah, code
enforcement's on
enforcement.
there. Subdivision and site plan review, bidding and public contracts.
Now, we could just put any other topic that would be likely to be included in town board meetings, just kind of generally like that.
Well, they would, I mean, I think most attorneys, if you have a question for them, they know how to research how to answer your
They do,
questions, so.
exactly, and if they don't, they'll find somebody who does,
Right.
and that's just pretty standard.
Okay, and then routine legal services should mean getting routine legal advice relative to these subjects, provided that any special project, and these are examples, I guess, litigation, hearings, court appearances, meeting attendance, and this meeting attendance, because we talk about attending the board meeting separately, is,
I'd like to see part of a contract be the regular meeting.
okay.
And then anything beyond that, if we needed them to be here for that, then that would be part of the separate fees. You know, whether an associate comes out or whether the lawyer comes out to answer. Or a partner.
And then requires more than 6 hours of legal work a month. So
What are we generally using?
I've never looked at the bills I've never,
What do we budget?
I believe,
Is it 10,000?
That's
no,
not-
it's 20,000.
It's 20,000?
I
It's more like
believe
20,
if you get that book, I will tell you exactly.
Alice is gonna
Oh.
try and find it for us, I think. Thank you, Alice.
That's 16. 2017. 10,000.
10,000.
14, 15, 16, and 17, 10,000.
What was the actual expenditure?
Oh,
Do
You have to
know
go
that?
back in the,
over 50 or 60. I don't know. We could go look in the file if I could get back there. if you
well,
want me to.
that depends on the
Can I
year.
scooch
This year,
behind
it was
Virginia and I'll-
exceeded 10,000.
Right,
Other years,
right.
it's never exceeded 10,000.
Right, yeah, 'cause I'm just curious how much we actually spend.
Well, then
because
go
that would
back and
help
look on
us to-
the site, the board site, and
Yeah.
the monthly reports, and look at December.
Well, just as a,
36,000.
Okay. So I'm
Something.
just trying to get a sense of what would be the appropriate figure that, so like, we could look at our budget if we get bids and the budget says 10,000 that we budget, but if that's not the accurate figure that we should actually be expecting to spend based on what these needs are, then we won't really answer a bid appropriately. If someone comes in way above, say, $10,000, but below $20,000, which I don't think will happen, but then the reality is that we've actually generally spent in a heavy year $35,000, then we should come up with an acceptable figure for a contracted price,
whoa,
somewhere in the
wait,
midst
wait,
of that.
wait, though. Are we doing a contracted price per hour or a contracted price for total?
A total
Services.
contracted services.
That's what she wants to
Ooh,
go up.
That's
Then
really
with-
tough. Yeah.
Then with, that's, other towns do that.
What other towns?
Newfield does that. That's how they contract for their attorney.
I
So,
don't, yeah.
It's a flat rate to Harris Beach.
it's a flat rate contract for the list of things that that town wants that attorney to agree to do for that contracted price.
Yeah.
And then they have the separate, which is whatever goes above and beyond a specific period of hours that are agreed upon in a month. And then they charge you based on whether a partner participates or whether an associate.
Wait,
Doesn't work.
you lost me there.
What?
You're saying the separate is an entirely different thing than what's on the list, though. You have a list of things that they're gonna take care of?
I have a list of things that we would expect them to take care of
Right.
within an agreed amount,
Of,
period of time in a month.
when you say within an agreed period of time, what do you mean by that?
So like
That's
say
what the
6
hours is about.
Or it could be 4 hours, depending on how many hours we generally use.
So then you're going back to hours at that point, because
But
you're
only,
saying,
but that could be the number of hours that they are willing to give us under an agreed contracted amount. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are coming up with a number that is equivalent to the same number of, or dollar figure of what those hours would cost us.
well,
separately.
let me see if I'm with you here. I have to do it in my own head, sorry. But if we say, let's say we do it for $12,000, okay? Say we agree to have, we'll pay you $12,000 for the year. And then let's say we also agree that we would like to have 5 hours per month agreed on time. And that means that you're gonna get $1,000 for that 5 hours per month, right? We're gonna give them $1,000 for that 5 hours per month.
If that's what they
Well,
give
let's
us
say-
for a whole year contract.
Let's say the whole year
sure.
contract was 12,000, okay? And let's say we put 5 years as 5 hours as the expected amount of time. So that means every month we'll give them $1,000. Right? Now, let's say they spend more time than that 5 hours doing something else that they have to do for us. What happens to that more time?
That's charged separately.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I said.
Okay.
So
charged
that's the
separately.
way you want it worded. That they'll do 6 hours of work a month, and it includes one meeting and all these questions that we did.
I want them to be prepared to provide legal services with regard to those topics.
Up to
Generally
6 hours a
for
month.
us. Up to however many hours
However
the
many.
board
Yeah.
determines
You
we
said.
generally might use them for. So this is an example.
Well, you
asked
said
for,
6.
you asked for examples, that's what I gave you. I have no idea how many hours the lawyer generally works. I don't generally see that information, so I can't make that assessment, so that's a number.
So here's a concern I have, okay? If we say, let's go back to my numbers, $12,000 a year for 5 hours per month. And then we pay them the $1,000 per month, and then they put in the 5 hours per month, so forth and so on. Then they spend an extra, so that's $200 an hour, is what we're paying for them. So then they go in and they put in 3 extra hours that month, but their normal billing rate is $300 per hour. So for those 300 hours, for those 3 extra hours, they're going to charge us $300 per hour.
Part of their bid to us will be an actual figure that we need to agree on with them
Exactly.
about how much we're willing to pay for an hour, or how much they're willing to do the work for us for an hour.
Right.
And then we say, okay, we'll do that, or we won't do that. The other thing is that this is just, Ann asked for,
Right. No, I know we're
you know,
getting there.
wording
yeah.
for a
Yeah.
bid. So this is one option. The other problem might be that we might not require 5 hours of work in a month, and
Right.
yet we pay a contracted an amount. So if anyone has wording for a pay-as-you-go that they'd like to use, I'd
Well,
love to see it.
In my business, typically, if you have people on both sides that have ethical, trustworthy things, it almost always is cheaper to pay somebody by the hour, because in that hour, with the price, they put their overhead and their whatever they need to get. And in the end, you're really negotiating for actual, it's much more clear, the negotiation is much more clear. Because this guy says, if you trust him, if you trust your work from him, he says, I'll give you $200 an hour. You know that he's gonna get paid his $200 an hour, he knows that. You know you'll get $200 an hour's worth of work out of it, and you won't pay any more than you need to, and you won't pay any less than you need to, then you won't pay any less. But really, in my business, it works out better to do it that way, rather than to have somebody write a contract and say, because you unless that contract is set with a certain number of hours, you're gonna say, wait a minute, I'm gonna get in trouble here if I say I'm gonna do $12,000 for a year, and they're gonna keep asking me and asking me and asking me, and I'm gonna say, well, I can't keep doing this stuff for free, it's free now, you already got your 6 hours for the month. So, in essence, when you come back down to it, if you do the 5 hours per month for $1,000 per month for $12,000 per year, you're actually paying them hourly when it comes down to it, because then whatever they do extra, you're going to pay them the extra hours. So it just seems maybe more simple and I think more clear to just say, let's do it hourly and let's look for the best hourly fee we can get, with the understanding that we may need somewhere between 6 and 20 hours per month, and that whatever time you put in, if you only put in 2 hours, you're only going to charge us $400 for that month. But if you put in 20 hours, you're only going to charge us $200 per month for each one of those hours. You're going to give us the lowest possible rate that you can give us, and assumably that rate will for.
How about a contracted rate that is above a certain amount of hours that rate goes down? So let's say if we utilize their services for over 7 hours or whatever, or 10 hours or whatever, and
Right.
then ask them to negotiate a lower fee.
And you could say, one fee for coming out to meetings and one fee for being in the office work, And I don't know which would be higher. If it was me, I'd say coming out to meetings should be cheaper, personally, because when in the office, they have all of the backup stuff around them. Yeah, you're paying for their office, basically, whereas you're coming out. And as far as some of them go, I know a lot of them, the way their billing works is, like, Guy works at Thaler & Thaler. He bills stuff through Thaler & Thaler, and when Thaler & Thaler gets the money, they give him part of that for his time, but then they keep the rest of it for office and stuff like that. It's possible that if he came out to meetings, maybe he wouldn't have to have so much of that go to Thaler & Thaler. Maybe that could be more in his time.
Why is that our business?
What's that?
Why is that our business?
Well, it's our business because of what Beth is just saying, is because we could ask for negotiated rates. We could ask him to come out and go to our meetings for $150 an hour instead of $200 an hour. And that might be something that he could do without it costing, he might make more money at $150 an hour coming to our meetings and not going through Thaler and Taylor than he would staying in the office having to pay Thaler and Taylor $100 and he'd only make $100 per hour. It just, it's a business. It's the way business works is all.
We don't know
you-
anything until we ask.
Exactly.
So,
And he may have some obligation, or there may be something in his relationship with Sailor and Sailor.
I think Beth's idea is great that we ask these questions.
Business.
It is our
Our
business, it's our
business-
money, it's
that's
our
right.
money, that's why it's
Our business is to negotiate the best
That's right.
deal with
Not
regard to the residents
go
of the
off
town.
on a tangent on how Thaler and Thaler handles their partners. You say that Enfield, Newfield, has a set contract.
And then they have another.
So, and
another
that
line
you think
item.
that that's an acceptable contract?
I think that for the amount of time that they have, which they do say 6 hours for theirs. It's like 27,000. But that's all of that included with the month, with the people, with the person at the meeting.
$27,000?
Yeah,
What'd you say about 6 hours?
A month.
6 hours a month.
It's
But
about
again,
$400 an hour, somewhere
Yeah.
in that range.
it's what,
Hell of a lot more than
It's about
200, I'd say.
$350, $400 an hour.
if
if that
you
range.
are
I'm not very
looking
good at
at,
math.
we have no idea how many hours we need.
Right.
Because we don't have that assessment
Right,
to make this the needs for the bid
right, we don't know that.
express. We
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
So this is an example. You asked for wording. I gave
That's
it to
right.
you. There it is.
Yeah. I
So-
may be asking for more.
Okay. Or we can keep Guy. If that's the guy we're connected to and we want to keep, then by all means. But
Everybody
I
happy
think
with
whoever whoever we settle with after we do this process, whatever the process ends up being, they need to be someone who's vetted thoroughly in terms of their familiarity and success with municipal law and town law and litigating for towns and so on. I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but that's somebody who's fresh off the deck.
oh, absolutely.
Well, and I do want to go on record as saying I think that Guy Crow has served our legal needs incredibly well and professionally.
Right, this all came about because of a discussion about whether it's appropriate not to put out bids for services. That's where this came from. It was a discussion about that.
Maybe
So-
we could just ask them to be charged less per hour at a
I
meeting.
think why not to bid for services is.
That
Well, that's
is
something we have to
not
do
our
anyway.
business.
Right.
I don't think. Oh yes, the town or the auditor. That's one of the things that we have not put insurance out to bid.
Mhm.
We have not put professional services out to bid.
And our legal, unfortunately, it's great to have a consistent attorney who knows the issues of our town. It's great to do that. But if the discussion comes around that we need to be putting out bids for services and we find that there is a qualified attorney who would bid lower for the same services, you can laugh at it, but it's our responsibility to put the bid out. We're having a conversation about putting bids out for services.
That's right.
So,
However, putting a bid out for service is, about 4 lines as far as I'm concerned. Can you practice in New York State? How long have you done municipal law? Who do you do it with? And what's your hourly rate? Put it out to 6 people, you put it out to bid.
So what would this board do if we got a qualified bid that came in lower, potentially, than Guy Crow's?
I
What
would
this
ask
board do?
27 more questions than Ann just said,
Right.
because the information that you're giving out to bid is so limited and such, it just doesn't give you the information you need.
Well, an actual bid packet that
There's so much more to it than those
is
simple
much
things.
more
This
much
is
more
this is
detailed.
business. This
I
is
see.
something different than just this is why governments spend 6 times more money than they need to spend, because people that run business look at things entirely different. They look at it in terms of saving money. When you're in the government, you don't have to save money. It's not your money. You can just say, well, who wants to do this? You're the first one who said you want to do it. Okay, you go ahead and do it. That's not the way you run a business, and it's not the way you should run a government either. You should run it saving people's money. And it's their money, my money.
So asking 6 questions and what's your hourly rate isn't enough.
The ones that you just said are not
Isn't-
enough.
They're
No,
not enough.
They're not enough.
Well, I
I
guess
see.
what that would come down to
I see.
is whether it would be our responsibility once a bid came in that was lower to accept it without knowing all that
That's-
information, and that's
That's
problematic.
certainly a big part of it, yeah, yeah. Can you go back in to the whole process again and then say, well, wait a minute now, what did you mean by this, and are you really gonna do that? And because in business all the time, like this, you know, the paint thing and everything else, some businesses are in business to, I don't know the right word without saying a swear word, but to take advantage of the people that they're working for, okay? And they format their contracts, they format all of their information in such a way that they are gonna make money off you, and they know, they don't make it off the contract, they make it off of changes. They make it off of things that they know you can't possibly do, or they can't possibly make you do, and so it has to be changed, and they make the change, whoa, now it's a whole bunch more money for that, sorry, that's what the Ithaca City School District did down here, when they put that new mat in the football field. They got 3 bids to put that mat in the football field. They were all really, really high. The guy that said, yes, I will get it done before the start of the football season, was higher than everybody else. And they said, well, wait, one of the conditions of this was you had to get it done before the start of the football season. So we're gonna take the high bid, because he said he'd get it done before the football season. The other people said, it can't be done before the end of October. You know when it got done? The end of October. But they paid the money to the guy that said he would do it by the end of August, more money to him, because he said he wouldn't get it done. But there was not enough penalty in there to cover the difference between the two. So they just gave, well, you didn't do this, and you didn't do that, and we couldn't get this, and we couldn't that. He got it done the end of October, same as everybody else. He just made another $200,000 on it than the other people did. That's how businesses work. So you have to be smart about these things. You can't just give the money away, because it's not your money. Sorry, I didn't mean going on about that.
And asking people, lawyers, 6 questions, what would you
Those
miss in there?
questions weren't enough.
And what,
What else would I ask?
yeah,
I would make it very clear what we were needing from them. And I would say, we
time,
need,
you're gonna define time?
definitely define time, yes.
You're gonna define time.
Yes, I'm gonna say, we will probably need between 4 and 56 hours every month of your time. We need to know if you are available to this time. We need to know if you will have people in your office that can cover this time, if you're on vacation in Florida because you made so much money off us last year that you're not even coming to work this year. We need to know all these kind of things. Then we need to know if we go over our 10 hours, are you gonna start to charge us more money at that point? Or what we would like is we'd like you to start charging less money at that
No,
point.
I'm talking about per hour.
Right, we'd like to start having to pay less per hour once we've gone over 10
Or a
hours.
certain number of hours.
We'd like you
Oh.
to say that you have
Oh,
legal assistance in your office that you will use for some of our work, that you will charge at $40 per hour or $100 per hour rather than your $200 per hour. Because typically,
Well, that's
what people
they
do,
say is like an associate rate as opposed to a partner rate.
exactly, and that's all the things we want in that contract, and to know that we
are
can
you
get associate
gonna
rates.
be
with them.
acceptable with the paralegals?
There's lots
Okay.
of work that a paralegal could do.
The
or an
lawyer knows.
Actually, an associate is not necessarily a paralegal. It's a lawyer that is not a partner a lot of the time.
And doesn't
So
get
that
as
would
much
need to
money.
be, that's right, that would need to be defined, how they define what an associate is. But I know plenty of people who are associates at law firms that are not yet partners. But then I also know people who are partners who used to be a lawyer still, but were an associate. So,
And I know businesses that charge full rates for everything that they do for you, even when they didn't do it. Architects charge full rates for their time at $85 an hour, even though the guy that's actually doing the drawings and does maybe 75% of the work, actually only gets paid $20 an hour, and he makes the difference between that $20 an hour and the $85 an hour, and puts it in his pocket, because what the heck, we can make it. Who knows? They don't look at their bills. They just give us the money. We'll just take it.
I think Newfield actually has a rate of like, I think it's like $200 an hour for a partner and like $143 an hour or something like that for an associate.
And why wouldn't you define that? Yeah.
Fair speech.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for the input.
So where are we gonna go from there?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, maybe you'd like to write it up?
Well, we need to decide how we wanna, what sort of an arrangement that we're looking for.
Well, I'm very happy, and I think we have a very fair and knowledgeable
Well, to be honest,
lawyer.
and this may seem a little bit weird, but to be honest, if I wanted to know how to write up this thing, I would go to my lawyer. And ask him what kinds of things would be in there, because they understand proposals in the legal industry more clearly. And I would see if what he said made a lot of sense, and knowing Guy, even though it would be long-winded, it probably would make a lot of sense. And that would be, if not a starting point, at least it would address many of the ways that I would look at this proposal in terms of how I wanted to do it. I know then you could say, well, wait a minute, how can you give the keys to the henhouse to the fox and have him tell you how to do the proposal? But I wouldn't ask him how to do the proposal. I would ask him, what kinds of things do I need to watch out for? And Guy, being the kind of guy he is, who is like non-partisan or he's just not in it for making money dishonestly, because he's just not that kind of guy. He would probably be really clear about what kind of things should be in there, what kind of things shouldn't be in there, and then we would come back and we would discuss it ourselves, and we would say, yeah, let's not do that, but let's do that, and do it like
So
that.
I guess what I would come back to with this is, again, the root of why we are even having this discussion. So, can the town board make a determination that rather than put out bids for another attorney, that we are pleased with the attorney that we currently have, or one of them anyway, and that we don't wish to put out bids for this particular service? Is that a decision that we can come to? Because
Whoa.
that's the reason for this conversation,
Right.
was the need to, my understanding anyway, and I think
Oh.
that others at the table.
We haven't even gotten the report,
What report?
the audit report.
There was a conversation at the last board meeting that we needed to put out bids for services. And that's where this conversation started from.
Oh, and you picked the lawyer.
Well, that's.
That
about
was
the
one
only
that was mentioned.
I don't know that we do any
So-
others. Do we do others? Not for professional services, right?
Well, I
Well,
haven't.
we have for like plowing or for
Yeah, that's a
whatever,
little
you know,
different,
a
yeah.
regular.
Environmental specialist, I didn't put out a bid,
Yeah.
because I didn't think I had to if it was a specialty.
Are we required to put out bids for lawyers?
The audit, the draft audit indicates that.
Yeah, they seem to think that lawyers were something we should do. And that makes sense to me.
So I guess I didn't come up with that out of whole cloth, right? In my
No,
own
not at
mind?
all.
Okay, thank you.
No. No,
I
that's.
mean, because
that's-
this discussion, that's what, I mean, I have no, if this board is happy with Guy Crow, and he's been our attorney for some time, I don't, I mean, certainly there are some things that we will always question or have our own personal, issues with about answers from an attorney, but that doesn't mean that the answers from the attorney are wrong, just means we have issues with them or whatever.
I've met a lot of attorneys that are less knowledgeable than Guy. I haven't ever met one that is more knowledgeable than him in this area. That doesn't mean they aren't out there. It doesn't mean that they wouldn't charge us $200 each, but I think if I had to guess at the likelihood that we're gonna find somebody better at a better price, or even at that price, I'd say it's pretty unlikely at this point. But that doesn't mean it's not out there. That doesn't mean the fellow that works for Newfield isn't more knowledgeable, I just don't know him.
So where,
So,
what are we gonna decide here?
How do we decide?
decide that we have the autonomy to just say this is not something that we wanna put out a bid for?
Well, here's,
Or does
here's,
that violate what the auditors
They
say?
haven't said it yet.
Okay.
here's,
Then maybe
here's-
we need to table the conversation until they do.
Here's what I think,
Yes.
Beth, and I think this is a factor. We are in the middle of a really difficult situation that's potentially litigious in many different ways, on both sides. I think at this point, the town would be better off to keep the existing lawyer because he's so familiar with it and would take somebody else a long time to get up to speed
He's been with it since the get-go.
on the wind issue. So I think for now, we should stay with Guy. The price is fair, he seems knowledgeable, he has the experience that we need in relation to our issues. And if we would like somebody to come to the board meetings more often, I think we should ask him for a proposal.
I think that Ann already did ask him and he said he was willing, didn't he?
It's willing. He has that Wednesday open.
Right, so we ask him, we need to define what we need in terms of hours, and then he would define what he would charge in terms of hours, so we would have more details about it.
I mean, I would hate to have him commit to coming out here and spending 4 hours at a town board meeting. I think it would be
Which
appropriate
I
if
don't
we
think we
determined a
need.
time.
Well,
For him to
this is
come.
what we need to discuss tonight, because I verbally have contracted with him to come on the 11th. Where'd the calendar go?
Coming up.
That's a long month.
There's a calendar right
Over.
there
There's
yesterday.
one behind you.
February 8th.
I'm not going down when I got
That's
here.
correct, behind you.
The 8th.
That's January and February.
It's the 8th, because the
It's
first
the
is the
8th.
planning board.
Yeah,
And so if you don't want him to come to the whole board meeting, you have to decide what time he's gonna come. After, what I see as a logical cutoff is before privilege of the floor, after privilege of the floor, after, I can't see a reason to, if you want him here to hear privilege of the floor, I would say the next
no,
one is,
consent agenda.
consent agenda.
I
I don't
don't
know
think he needs to
why
be
he
here for that.
needs to be here for that, and then
What
you
about
get
new
into
business?
committee reports.
For the new business period.
Old business comes before new business.
I think for old business.
Old business?
All business.
Oh, right, yes.
So that it's a matter of us defining when we think we'll like to get to it, whether it's
Yes,
7
and then
o'clock
you
should
have
be
to,
fine.
and then
is
how
after
long do
7,
you want him
okay.
to stay?
I was, in my mind, when you wrote that thing, I was thinking 7 to 9. But
Other people's thoughts?
I'm not 100% sure we need them at the meetings to, I mean, it seems a shame to have them sit there for $200 an hour if we don't need his input.
I definitely agree that it would be silly to do that, yeah.
But, then if we do have a question, and I guess the other alternative is to wait till the next meeting to address it after we've consulted them. So it slows things down a bit.
That's
but-
the thing. I mean, it seems like things are very slowed down. That things are put off, and often when they're put off, they're forgotten. And they never get, no one ever comes back to address them. So it seems like if we were able to have a way to expedite things, basically just because, I mean, not just that, but it also will alleviate some of the responsibility of Anne, because she often ends up having to keep notes and go back and ask him questions for us. That leaves her responsible to express for us what our questions are when we've articulated them in a certain way or have a certain nuanced way of asking a question or whatever, and then she has to figure out how to relay that. So it might be better if we were able to address those questions individually ourselves to him directly.
How about if we commit to an hour and see if Guy would be willing to commit to an hour's worth of time? And then if we need to keep him longer, he would do by the quarter hour for the extra time. But I don't think he'd want to come out for less than an hour's worth
Right.
No.
of build time. But if we committed to an hour's worth of time for every meeting, that's $200.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then-
I just had a thought too. I wonder if we could work out an arrangement with him where he's available to be contacted by phone if we got a question.
Well, my concern is that things are gonna come up, and there's gonna be a lot of interplay and stuff, and we're not gonna be able to put a phone and have it be on speaker and get the
No.
information. It's just, I think it's more complicated than that. Just remembering some of the conversations we had, they go around and somebody from the audience speaks up, or we ask Dan a question or something. I don't think he's gonna, even if he could hear it, I don't think he's gonna get the gist of it
I
without
don't
us
think
going
it's
back and
effective at
saying, you know, it seems really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'd still be $200 an hour. So-
Yeah, it would just be a much shorter period of time.
But he'd have to be on call, so it wouldn't be. If he was on call for the
Oh,
time
he
period,
charges the whole time he's
he
on
would
call?
charge us for being on call. Yeah,
And
so.
if you could sit there and watch a football game or something.
Knock back a beer or two.
We could
Handing
send
out
him a
advice.
pizza maybe or something like that.
Well, I guess it depends on the agenda of the meeting, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Well, if we did the hour set time plus staying for longer if we needed to, then we would just need to decide when we would like him to come.
Right.
7:30, 8 o'clock, what we think, you know, get into the meeting enough and be able to table some things that are litigious.
Do we really need him for anything besides Black Oak issues right now?
There are times,
Yeah, there are
definitely.
times.
Yeah, I can think of times that we've had things that, like, we gotta wait till we can talk to Guy and, you know, I think actually an hour's worth of time could actually save us money in the end, of just having to be there and having everybody get to put their parts and pieces into the question. You know, because sometimes Ann doesn't have everybody's feedback already ready to go. She asks them a question, it comes back, and we say, what about this? And she
Right.
said, well, we didn't tell them to ask about that, so, you know, it gets a little complicated, so.
Well, the old business, I estimated started at 8 o'clock at the general meeting. I don't know how the time went actually.
But I would say not before 7:30 and not after 8, somewhere in there, seems like right to me.
And we can also change it if it
We can, if
ends
it
up
works
being
out, yeah.
canceled.
That's
So,
true.
you
Yeah.
know, we
That
just
would
keep
work
track
too.
of it and.
Yeah, if we get to things that are difficult before 8 o'clock, we could,
So 7:30 for Guy.
7:30 or 8, yeah. We can ask him what he would prefer to some degree too. He may want to get home before too late too.
So we have committee reports and stuff that would come before that, right?
Right. I don't think. Well, highway superintendent's report often
Oh,
brings
yeah,
up.
right.
Sometimes.
That's a,
But
But you know what we can do is, if there are sometimes there are questions with regard to that Guy might be helpful with, you
There are
know,
definitely
so.
Definitely.
If we're able to kind of have that, you know, either in process or done by the time Guy gets there, then if we have questions regarding that, then we can
you know
address
what we
them
could
with
do?
him.
I don't know, this would be up to you, Ann, though, whether you're okay with it. We could start old business at a set time when Guy gets there, and if there's things that we haven't done, like committee reports, we could put them off until,
oh, you're inconveniencing
I know,
Yeah,
it
uh,
makes it
members of the
difficult for you.
community.
Yeah, yeah. But it seems like we should try it and see what works.
Everybody get a letter from Buddy?
I got a letter from Buddy, yeah.
When do we talk about that?
It's on.
It's
I
on the agenda.
added it to the agenda.
It's next.
Maybe you came in after I added. So we're going to ask him to come at 7:30 at the next meeting.
I think that sounds good to start with.
Yeah, okay. You're in agreement with that? Yes.
Now, my agenda. Okay. Next is the CHIPS agreement. I did not get any of my answers answered, or my 2 questions I did not get answered by Buddy.
were
And
they?
I will refresh your memory on what my 2 questions were. I'm looking over the agreement for expenditure of CHIPS money that you want the board to sign. I am wondering how our center line miles increased from 44.31 last year's agreement to 86.26 this year. I am also wondering how the $115,422 was arrived at. It is a much different figure than last year. I will also be urging strongly that CHIPS money be used for salt storage shed construction to ameliorate some of the moisture problems in the highway building. Guy says that we can do up to 3 requests a year for CHIPS money, so I will be urging the board to put in an additional plan once that I have more information on a salt storage facility and costs of it and other recommendations on remediation of the highway building.
Salt or sand? I thought Buddy said he doesn't use
The
any salt,
common nomenclature is a salt storage facility. The reality is, in Enfield's case, it would be used for gravel.
Sand.
Well, our case, sand.
but- Yeah, I just
Sand.
trying to find,
I'm trying
Prevent
to
Buddy
keep
from-
all the nomenclature here.
yeah. I just didn't wanna see Buddy jumping on, which is not a salt shed, we don't use salt, so keep him from having something to get upset about.
And my questions haven't been answered, and I'm not gonna sign this. Go to it. It only takes a majority of the town board.
So what was the first question?
Double
The first one
the-
was about the
Why,
mileage.
why the mileage?
Okay, what was the second one then?
And where, $115,042, $422, how was that arrived at?
Well, the numbers, I mean, he describes the projects and the numbers are like it's actually, let's see, it's like $150,000 total.
Oh, well, see, he hasn't provided me with that.
Well, he has the numbers on the projects.
This one?
Well, not to me. He
Oh, okay.
didn't send me that letter.
Oh, you don't have this one?
I have the original agreement that he
What did you get in the mail?
gave that night at the meeting.
He gave Ann a copy of the report.
Okay.
But he's, so he has 60 here, 30 here, and 60 here, which doesn't come to 115 either.
It goes
On
to
yours.
150.
Well, I think it's on yours the same.
Oh, I see, over here.
Yeah, on the right-hand side there. But that isn't 115 either, so that's not, that doesn't relate.
Right, but it doesn't, no, he just has to describe the cost that he thinks the
Well, and
project
yeah,
is going to cost.
and these are
But this
permanent
is for
improvements.
materials,
Yeah.
right?
This is only for materials.
Right.
Only for materials. No labor is ever reimbursed. And the town has to make the expenditures prior to reimbursement. It is a reimbursement.
Wasn't it like 140,000 before?
I believe last year I did not bring the chips. I believe it was 144. But
I
I
looked back 2 years in terms of the road miles, and they were, as you said, 40-something. And then I looked at the year prior to that, and they were 40, actually they were same 2 years, they were 46-something.
oh, so it does change a little bit every year.
But doubling, no.
Well, what he's describing here though is, the first number is general repairs.
Right, and the second number is
So the
permanent
second
improvements.
number is permanent improvements. So while he's giving a dollar figure, we don't necessarily get what he requests. So he's just giving what these costs might be for each one of these, either permanent or general. So he's laying out what his cost estimates are for these particular projects.
But
They're
they
gonna
don't add
send
up.
us whatever.
Well,
They don't add
No,
up.
they're different.
They don't add up, they don't have to add up to anything,
'Cause they're
because
different.
some of this money comes out of the budget, right? Out of his budget.
Yes, and
He doesn't-
can I mention that with CHIPS, you need to show good faith that you're gonna spend some town's money and not just the state's money.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And how much did we apply for chips? How much money did we ask for the chips
What?
this year?
Right there.
It's-
This is the
I don't think
chips.
you
No,
apply,
it's
CHIPS
not.
tells you how much
No.
they will give you.
It's not, it's not, this is his, This is him, this is Buddy
What
saying
he's telling
that he
it's
needs to
gonna
spend
cost.
150,000 to 115,000 on general repair work on the town highways, too many miles, but that's okay. Then he also says, I need to spend 150,000 on the permanent improvement. So he's gonna spend a total of $265,000 on these things right here. Now, whatever money he gets for chips, he will use toward these
These things
expenses,
he's
right?
listed.
And there won't be enough to cover it all, but they're not supposed to cover it all, we're supposed to cover half or whatever. So if he gets, let's say if he gets 125,000 in chips, he'll spend 125,000 in chips, and then he'll spend another 140,000 of his budget to finish these up, which will come to a total of 265,000, which means that's what he'll have spent on this, all of these things for the year. basically.
He's not requesting a certain amount of money for the town. He's just laying out what the expenditures
This
are
is
going
the
to pay
plan.
for.
This is the point.
Right. So why he has that many miles, I don't know.
Well, 44, there's two ways to measure miles. One is going the center line and
Well,
one is
that's,
going one way.
that's the
That-
question, yeah, are we
So
going?
44, now 88. So 1 year he measured,
Yeah, so it doesn't say center line miles, does
It doesn't say so.
center line is, would be 44, and without center line it's 88.
So it's actually probably 43 and change, is what it is. Probably not exactly 44 miles, it's probably 43 point.
For center miles.
43.13 miles of center line miles. So if it's 43.13, then total miles, both sides, is 86.26, which makes sense. It's just they're not, he's not listing it as a center line number, he's listing it as this way and that way. Saying you're going in one direction, one way is 43 miles, coming back the other way is another 43.
You can just change it
It
every year.
doesn't say center line miles.
No, I don't know what it was last year. You have it, you have this
Yeah.
for last year?
Yeah.
What did it say last year?
That says center line miles. No, right, but where's the application from last year? Do we know?
I have
we
it at
have-
home in my chips
Right.
file.
Would you like
And
to
I
see it?
took this number from that.
The 44.31. So the question is,
That,
Or
that
did the
number
application
was
say center
here.
line miles?
I
Did it
think
say that?
it's,
Or
Or
he budgeted.
did it just be this?
you might have
I think he copies it. I don't know.
Because if it doesn't say center line miles on here, then his number is accurate.
well,
Well, I think he knows what it is. He's the highway department. So he knows.
well, except for last year, you put 44.31. So
In the same
In the same
That's
thing the
close.
prior year.
form.
yeah, maybe that somebody cut off part of the highway.
2016, it was 88.62 miles of town highways, not center line.
That was the 2016.
Yep.
There was more than one.
Could
Hey,
we
would
look
you
at
like a
that
copy
one?
of this? I can make a copy.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The other question I have is
There you go.
when they say that we can apply up to 3 times, is that for 3 separate reimbursements of potentially the same amounts? Or is it 3 times and they'll work with the same pot they would generally? That's
I
what
believe it's the same.
the same pot. And so what are we wanting to do with another application? What's the issue with the salt storage? Whose idea is that? What do we want to do that for?
He has said many times that we don't have a salt storage, and that's a problem.
So, if we were to suspend any work on roads and just use the money for salt storage, do we lay off the highway department for the year? How do we determine, I mean, is it just that we aren't gonna do any work on the roads for the year?
You wouldn't do either some of or all of the work that the CHIPS money would have gone to at that time. So you might do less repairs, or you might do less permanent. The way that Danby did it was they just decided one year to take all of their CHIPS money to not do any improvements on the roads that year. They use all the CHIPS money for
Cost of materials.
this is, yeah, if they don't do the improvements on the roads with this 150,000, let's say we get 150,000 in CHIPS money. If we say, okay, next year we won't do any of these improvements on the road, we won't spend any of those material money on roads, we'll instead take this $150,000 and build a salt storage facility. It actually could well give more work to the guys as well, because even though they don't do this, what Danby did again was they had their guys do most of the work.
Do most of the
salt
work,
storage
which
facility.
apparently was legal, because it is a public works project. I haven't checked on that, but.
But
I
it's
got-
legal to have his guys do that.
Right, because it's a public works project.
Well,
So where did we get that information? From them?
from the Danby information,
No,
Oh, we
whether
got
it's
the-
legal or not.
I don't know, I haven't asked Guy.
we
Oh,
have to
that's
talk
a
about
good
that.
question for this meeting, right? So I guess I'd like to know how Danby did that. Did they do that
They had a-
mid-January of the year they're applying, or did they plan to do
They
it
planned.
the year before? And then, so the highway department could prepare for that. So there was a plan in place rather than saying, hop to, this is how we're doing this.
This was talking to the woman that did the budget and the highway superintendent both at the same time.
Mhm.
And they both told me what we did was we planned for it, we planned to use our CHIPS money for the next year to build this salt storage, and we planned it all ahead of time, so.
And how
You
far?
wouldn't do it this year, you would do it next year, I think.
Right, I mean, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for doing that, but what it sounded like here was that this was what we were doing instead, or what we wanted to do instead. What I'd really like to see if we're gonna do that, which could really be a great idea, is to have it be, if we wanna do it next year, have it be part of our
I
work for
think
the,
that's what
you
Ann
know?
said, that's what I heard her say anyways. What's the plan for in the future to try and plan for doing the salt storage in the future?
Well, we don't yet know what our stated amount is our assigned amount is going to be. We
Right, but
won't
don't
get
we
that
have to
until,
use it for what we tell them we're gonna use it for?
Right.
I mean, we can't change our mind midstream and.
yes, we can. 3 different plans can be put in.
But if this one was funded as is, let's say we sent this in now and it was funded as is, the likelihood of getting another 100,000 for the salt storage is maybe pretty low. We could do that though and see if they would fund us another 100,000 beyond this, and maybe they will. But if nothing else, we certainly could plan for next year, figure out what the salt storage is gonna cost, put it down in this permanent improvement, salt storage, 125,000. And if they give us 125,000, we'll use it to build our salt storage.
But the other thing is, Danby, maybe not the salt storage, but one of the things they had a 3-year plan for. And that, yeah, I believe, is a more realistic plan for Enfield. And I would not pretend to think that we were going to change totally over to a salt storage instead of some road improvement this year. But I will strongly advocate when we get the allocation in April, that we would, in the next one of these 425s or whatever they're called, we would have our plan for, and allow, or say we're going to allocate $25,000 or $10,000 towards
But don't we have to spend it in the year?
to get reimbursed.
Right.
Well, my understanding is that steel sits for a while. 2x4s sit for a while. That's my
Yeah, well,
understanding.
yeah, it wouldn't be that so much as it would be, I mean, if we do it like Danby did, we would do it with a concrete block base and then we do it with.
Well,
it.
my understanding is that
No
you
plywood
could
type?
No
buy
plywood, no.
1,000 cinder blocks and set them on ground and they'd be right there the next year. That's
Right.
been my country.
Yeah, it's not cinder
experience.
blocks, it's actually these
That's what my
huge,
garden looks like.
great big concrete things,
and,
but
So,
we could consider that, the thing is, first of all, that we have to figure it out, and we have to have some real numbers. We should have some real numbers involved with it. The second thing is, which is much more problematic for me, is that somebody actually has to work with Buddy on this to figure out how to make it. And it's not gonna be me, so it's gonna have to be one of you guys, so. So if somebody has to figure it out with Buddy and get him on board and
Yeah,
make it happen.
yeah.
So.
So this document here, or the handbook, does say that it's imperative that it's executed within the first few days of January. Legally, no expenditures can be made from repairs or improvements appropriations until the agreement has been completed. It says, although the statute fixes no date or period of time within which the agreement must be completed, that it has to be executed within the first few days of
No, it
January.
doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't say legally it has to be. I mean, it says it's imperative.
It says it's imperative,
Yeah.
right. Well, right, but
It means we should
why?
do it. It means we should do it.
Why is it imperative? Is there a loss that
I think it
might
makes it a
occur?
lot easier for the highway department to do their job. That's what I think.
where's this from?
This
From the
is,
Highway Superintendent Manual. Association of Towns.
I think it's exhorting the highway superintendent to get his butt in gear and tell those town guys, make sure you do this for me.
Yeah.
And this imperative thing probably gives them a little bit of extra oomph. They can say, it's imperative, so that's what the highways manual says. And if I was a town board member, I'd say, oh, it's imperative, we better do it. So, which I am, and which I'm thinking.
There you are.
So, do we know how much Danby got
For,
for their, for the,
from what I remember, and this is a bit of a loose memory, but I remember her saying it was over $100,000, and it wasn't a lot over 100,000. So, and I think the CHIPS money is somewhere in the 100 to 150 range that we get every year.
I
She said it
believe
was
we got
144 or
144
something like
last
Right,
year.
so it's somewhere in
that
that range.
sounds like it's been pretty consistent for a while.
I never looked back into previous years, that's easy enough.
So it's a good possibility that we could get close to building the whole thing. I think, although it's possible we could get part of the money and do part of the thing, I think dollar-wise and function-wise, it would be better if we could figure out a way to just get the materials and build the thing and have it be done with and, do it. Because leaving stuff around, I mean, if it's canvas tops, your canvas top has to be covered somewhere, and you can't just leave it out in the weather, so, and it just, typical building projects, as much as you could, you should finish them when you start them, and make sure everything's going okay with it, but I would think we should plan it for next year if we could, and not try and do too much this year. One thing I would say about it, though, is that we can make it, and this is again a conversation with Buddy that needs to happen, and one that I've been avoiding, unfortunately, as well, is that one of the keys to not having condensation on the walls of that building is keeping the sand out of the building,
Outside, right.
because that's where all of that
I
water
believe
comes from.
I stated that in
Yeah.
my email.
But that means he's gotta have a place to put it. And he doesn't have
There's
a
that
place
much
to put it.
moisture in that sand.
Oh, yeah. It's a mountain of sand. It's bigger than this room, taller than this room. And you pick it up and it's like sand you pick up after,
Tide,
after
after
a
the
heavy,
tide come in,
after a
right?
heavy rain, And you put it in a room full of 65-degree temperatures, it's just gonna sit there and
Wet.
it's just gonna evaporate into the air. That's what. And then when it hits the walls on the cold spot, it's gonna condense on the walls. And that's
But
what
my
it does.
simple country background says that if you would take away one of the large contributors, you'd have a chance at amelioration.
There's two things that do it. One of them is the sand. The other is washing the
The
snow
trucks and
off of the
everything.
trucks after they've been out running.
Well, I
I would
know
think
that.
that would produce a lot more moisture in the air washing those trucks.
Well,
but,
if you had a drain in where you washed the moisture off the trucks and it all went down the drain and out of the building, it would be an hour's worth of time that moisture would be in the building to be gone. when you put a load of sand in there, it can be in there for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks until it's next needed. The reason he keeps it in there is to keep it warm enough and unfrozen so they can lift it up with a loader and put it back in the truck. If you put a load of sand in there to keep warm and it says big snow coming and the big snow doesn't come, that sand can sit there for a month without doing anything other than drying into the
Oh,
atmosphere.
the sand's not in the truck, it's in the pile.
No, it's in a
inside
pile on the floor. Yeah.
They put it in the truck as needed.
Because there's 10 times more sand in the pile than would fill the truck. Because they gotta bring the truck in and fill it up, take it out on the roads, bring it back in and fill it up, take it out on the roads, like that, so.
So, just out of curiosity, there's a great big lovely wash bay at the fire department that the residents of the town pays for.
Oh, I think
I'm-
you're getting in trouble there.
I don't really care. I mean, I'm interested in why we couldn't use that for.
Let's ask them and see what they say.
I mean, really, because we're responsible to contract for their needs, not their wants at the fire department. And if the town residents have already paid for that, then because almost the entire budget is a tax levy, and that would help fix a problem
It would.
that we have.
Although, we could also do it by having a wash bay in the town highway building, which would mean either cutting off one end bay and putting a wall up, and that one end bay, because there's 4 bays in there, 5 bays in there.
We
number of
have a
bays in
wash
there.
bay.
We would have a wash bay
We have a wash bay
in the building.
at the fire department.
No, it's not ours. We don't own it.
Yeah.
The fire department owns it. We don't own that building.
Mhm.
Town of Enfield does not.
Yeah.
Private,
I know.
not-for-profit
Yeah.
owns it.
So-
Well, we'll have to
But if you could
reassess
talk
that
them
in
into
a
it,
contract.
Yeah.
More power
You
to
can
you.
talk them into it.
There was a salt storage facility in the original building that was cut.
In that one,
It was
The
in the
highway.
plans.
in the
plan.
highway, that was,
The plan.
right, I remember that, yeah.
And I think there was, you might check, but I think there was a wash bay in the original plans too.
I'd be curious how much that wash bay costs. I'd be curious just to kind of get a number, because I wonder if that might also be a permanent improvement.
Well, it is, that's why it's eligible under CHIPS.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
no,
we could also
it's
put
10
an
years
extended
or
wash
more.
bay in over there,
It has to be 10 years or more.
which it will be.
Right, that's why it's eligible to be utilized under CHIPS. Because that's the rule for CHIPS. And but it's not just roads. It's
Right,
any
it's any improvement there.
improvement that will last 10 years or more.
Could I bring up something that's related but maybe a little bit different? Sometimes at the annual meeting in January, and you have made certain board members responsible for certain extracurricular type activities.
Yes.
let's say. And I don't think that we did that at this last
Well, we
board meeting.
voted Henry the alternate to something. I cannot find, I've not had any suggestions, you can look through there and find it. I have not, we do not have a director to the health consortium that functions.
Right.
And I've asked one, as I said in the email, I've asked one highway employee who didn't want to do it.
It doesn't have to be a board member or employee either, does it? I mean, it can be someone, I mean, because Herb was assigned to do it after he.
It can be a community member. So I asked for ideas about that, got nothing back, so I'll ask again. I'd really like ideas because it is pretty much being demanded of us to have a functioning board of directors to the health consortium. It's what we agreed to way back when this started. Their audit has brought to their, well, it's been brought to my attention before that our director wasn't very attentive at meetings. And then the audit showed it, and so I was reminded again the 1st of January, and so it's pretty imperative. And I can't, I have gone to some of these meetings, but I just can't continue.
Well, in relation
so-
to that, I will say that I won't do it. I will help to look for somebody. My wife might be willing to do it. She knows a whole lot about health insurance,
Can
and
put a call out.
she has time.
So
But,
that is.
but as an aside to that, and maybe an
Right.
extension from that, a few years ago when I first came on the board, I was assigned the job of being the building person.
Right.
And then within a year after that or so, I said that I will not be the building person in relation to the highway building. And so I've kind of come back into it a little bit, but I really would like to state very clearly that I will not be the building person in relation to the highway building. The other buildings I'm happy to do. I think it, both for Buddy and I's mental, physical, and emotional health, it's better for me not to be doing that job. And it seems silly, but it's not so silly.
No,
when-
it's not silly. It's
when
like
I-
the elephant in the living room.
Yeah, when Buddy gets mad and I start yelling at him, he walks out. That's just not anything either of us need to be doing. So, and I can't I just can't shut myself up. I'm sorry, but that's just me. So, if anybody else is willing to do the highway department building, I would give you any advice you needed from, it just, if I don't have to talk directly to Buddy, I think that would be better off for all of us as well. I'm happy to have you talk to me and
I wouldn't mind communicating with him.
so. Well, I was hoping that you would, but
I mean,
I didn't
I would
wanna,
be happy
I
to be
didn't
the
wanna say,
liaison
oh,
between
Beth.
the highway department.
Yeah.
I don't generally have any
Well, you,
issues with communicating with Buddy, and we generally can kind of keep it civil.
and that's great. And you have Brandon to
Right.
talk to too, and
Right,
that
that's true.
helps. So,
Mhm.
and you can maybe get the inside scoop a little bit of how to be more, whatever you need.
But
to
I
do.
don't want to do any of the other buildings.
And that's fine. I don't mind doing the other
The other
buildings, although I
buildings,
either
you said. All right.
probably Alice would say I'm not doing my job very well because I'm not. But,
I
but-
can say that Norm did get some new filters and put a new filter in the furnace, but I
Yeah.
don't believe it's been
Yeah.
checked
I-
out.
I did actually walk around this building the other day, and it looked great, except for the fact that they never fixed the 2 broken windows.
I
the
see
back.
there's 2 broken windows in the back.
But I noticed Buddy has used the cold storage well, so that's great. I mean, when I think about what he's got in there, I think, well, let's just leave this as cold storage, and we don't have any money to build a new building anyway, so let's just live with what we got and make it work. So, and Buddy seems to be happy with the cold storage there. So.
Oh yeah, he loans it out to everybody.
Does he? Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine. If he gets favors for loaning it out to people
Oh yeah.
that come back to the
I'm sure
town,
he does.
then that's great. That's a
I'm sure he
plus
does.
for the town as well, so.
Okay.
So, should we make that a pass the baton moment
For that,
for that particular
yeah,
one?
sure.
So
Okay.
you'll say you'll be looking at all the other town buildings.
I will try my best, although I am incredibly busy right now and I'm trying to keep up and I'm doing my best, so. But, I just have too many jobs and I can't handle them all as it is. But I'll do the best I can, so.
Well,
do you want to be the facilities person other than the highway department?
You mean what Mike's doing now?
Yeah.
On this building and the community building.
And what does that entail exactly?
Mostly when Alice sends me an email and says, you really need to do this because the heat isn't working or something isn't working or whatever, or you need to call Norm and say, Norm, you told me that you do this a year ago and you haven't done it yet. That it doesn't really involve doing the work, it involves when somebody has a
Allocating.
problem, emailing or
Facilitating-
calling you and say there's a problem.
Facilitating the
Yeah.
facility
And
repair.
being
Right.
the person. And again, I'm not at all averse to anybody calling me or emailing me and saying, using information I might have or whatever.
For this building and
The community building.
The regular building that we have meetings
and
at.
the
Yeah.
community building has to have something done with the moldy sheetrock.
The community building is a very problematic building. I would guess right now that it's probably not even legal for us to be holding meetings there because of the air quality in the buildings, but I would hope that nobody actually goes and does a test of it. Because certain times a year, the air quality
But he
in that
says it
building
at a
is
public
really poor.
meeting.
where's the moldy sheetrock?
Well, I don't wanna hide this. This is, to me, this is a problem and it's real.
The moldy, well, I personally know from a visual inspection, it's in the locked room where the fuel tanks are. But I have to look back at the evaluation that was done by our insurance company to see if it's someplace else in addition to that.
The problem, Henry, is that the foundation is blocked and it goes down 12, 16
There's-
feet in the ground. All the water
There's no
from
drain.
all the water from
there.
uphill is coming to that block
Right.
wall.
There's no drain
and
at the bottom
infiltrating
of
into
the.
it. And on the far side of it, on the south side of the building, the creek comes up right next to the building, so when it overflows, it actually washes up against the building and wets that whole side of the building. So there's constant moisture around the foundation of that building, which means there's a constant moldy smell. If you were not inured to the smell already, when you go in there, and you took somebody new in with a good nose, they would say, this building really smells bad. And I've had people say that, and when I first went into it, I smelled it. Now I'm so used to the smell in there, I think, oh, community building, here we are again. But sometimes, for me in the meeting, sometimes I'll sit there for a 4-hour meeting. By the end of it, my throat's dry and scratchy, my brain is all fogged, because we're breathing air that's really not good for us to be breathing, health-wise. A lot of people don't notice it. If you put somebody in there with multiple chemical sensitivities, they'd probably last about 2 minutes and they'd leave the building and say, I can't be in here. So, this is from me working on buildings for my last 50 years, and it's not just me. You could pull other people in there too, and they'd say the same thing. I can't recognize you, Joe, but
You can't coat the walls with that block.
do what?
Coat the walls with
You
a
gotta
block.
coat the outside. You gotta pull all the dirt back and coat the outside. Otherwise, there's so many pathways for the smells to go. You'd have to completely encapsulate the interior of the building to keep any of the smells coming inside the building, which means it's really problematic to do.
What about dehumidifiers?
You could, but the dehumidifiers don't get into the walls. It gets into the air itself. But if the walls are soaked with moisture, if those cinder blocks and everything's inside those cinder blocks is soaked with moisture, and that starts mildewing, that mildew smell is going to come out into the air. The dehumidifiers don't take the mildew smell out. You'd have to put air filters into the air and filter the air constantly to take the moldy smell out of it. So, at least that's my understanding of it. So.
So, was it a yes or a no?
Well,
No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah.
Right, so I would be supposedly solve this moisture problem, this mold problem?
No, you might bring it up at a meeting at some point and say, we have a real problem with this building, which I have hesitated to do because, well, I actually said it a couple times in past meetings. But that's why I wanted to build a new building for the town, because we could put this facility and the community building facility in the new building, put air source heat pumps where it's much less expensive to heat. It's much cleaner, there's no mildew issues, there's no drainage issues. We can get out of all this junk and do something with these buildings, get some money back out of them and use that toward paying for the new building. And the rest of the cost would pay it for itself in the next 20 years from heating costs, because the heating costs would be so much less because we could build a really insulated building. But with what's going on at the highway department building these days and how much money we have to spend there, I just kind of, I was just thinking about it the other day. I was thinking I should just can this new building idea because we need to fix the highway department up first. It's more crucial really than anything else. Although, to be honest, I actually think the community building is more crucial than anything else, because to me, health issues are more important than the moisture issues. I mean, Buddy's issues are important, but he doesn't have mold issues. He'll have mold issues eventually, though, if we keep putting the moisture in it. So.
Yeah, well, let me think about it.
Well, and that comes back to, it seems to me that building of a salt / sand storage facility would ameliorate.
It's an important step in the process. It really is. Yeah.
Are we almost done? I didn't eat since breakfast.
I haven't either.
There's your CHIPS agreement.
So, are we signing this?
I'm willing to sign it. As is.
I believe you have to have 2 copies. An original and it says at the bottom, duplicate.
I can make a copy of it.
Oh, there's plenty of copies.
Oh, we have copies.
Oh,
There's plenty of copies.
Well,
Well, how about if you make a copy of, is this your original? that he
No,
gave
I
you?
don't see the original.
and do we need to vote on this before we sign on it?
Mm,
It seems to me like we don't just sign it individually
Right.
as people, it seems like we have to vote.
Okay.
to
Make
say
a
it's
motion.
okay. I move that we sign this agreement for the expenditure of highway monies.
Seconded.
Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant,
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter,
Aye.
Councilperson Hanston,
Aye.
Councilperson McGee,
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder.
Nay.
Where do I sign?
I guess you're a councilman, so
Well, that's his whole thing that he sent, that
Yeah.
letter one, so
I
you'll-
scribbled all over mine.
this is last year's. Can we use this copy?
Yeah, yeah.
Do we need two?
yeah,
Just
that'd be great. Yeah. That's what I think this is me, right?
Yeah. that's yours. Do you want to say it, Richard?
And the solar project in Ulysses, I made one hard copy because there was too many. Town of Ulysses wants to know if we want to be interested, or if we want to say anything about this. Quite a large solar facility. If you go back, it's on Babcock's property down near where Renovus currently
Right
is,
across from Ryder Sport.
Right.
Ryder Sport. But Renovus was a Babcock facility, if you go back that far.
Novus was a Babcock facility, you lost me there.
On that
Babcock
plan.
was quite a large, at the time,
Chicken farm.
hatchery, wasn't it?
So what's their connection to the Novus?
That was part of the Babcock facility,
Where their new building
With their
is.
new building.
yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And out in back, there is an older building which was part of the Babcock hatchery.
So really the only, I mean, we'll be able to see that like off to the side on Iredell Road, but only for a really,
Be really hard.
Really
be re-
brief
really
time.
This is
fast.
for your information.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it would impact us.
So who does this filing, Buddy?
Yes, just put it back in this box.
Buddy's box.
Do you have to sign it? It says supervisor.
It says majority of town board.
Oh,
Says should be.
is anybody else want to see this?
Yeah, me.
Okay. What, what do you
The
think?
solar
See,
farm in
it's
Ulysses.
here.
Oh, yeah, I
It's-
looked at
It's
it.
in the middle one, I think the bottom,
Where is it?
bottom shelf.
Announcements, there's several public hearings, at the, planning board meeting next first, I guess,
Yeah.
February 1st.
Next Wednesday.
And also, that brings up, that, we don't have a planning board member. And I think I sent that out in an email too, or didn't I?
Who resigned?
Rob Testori didn't accept. He said work interfered.
Oh. Oh.
And I don't know that I knew that at the regular board meeting, but I guess it better be put on the February meeting.
Oh, because he was at the meeting.
No, he wasn't.
And then
at
he
that
left.
meeting. He left, yeah. He wasn't at that when we voted him in.
He
Well,
had
he
sent,
was there, but then he left
But not when we
mid-meeting,
voted.
not
What
when
do
we
you
voted,
understand,
right?
Alice?
he had sent an email to Sue saying that he would not be able to serve. He came to the meeting just to speak and to say that because of his job, he had other commitments. He didn't actually say it at the meeting, but he had previously sent an email to Sue as planning board secretary
I see.
saying that he would not be able to accept it.
That's too bad.
So you have the same understanding as I do.
Right, and then that she didn't at the time realize that and pass it on to the town board and Dan Walker, so no one knew it except Sue until after the meeting.
So I'm correct that I did not know it
Right.
at the last town
Right.
board meeting, so I
Correct.
better put it on the next town board meeting,
Mhm.
February. Okay, I'm correct in that.
And
All right.
see whether we wanna do another whole thing, or,
That's been our normal procedure to put out letters of interest.
and are we an interested party because we had joined the town of Ulysses? Is that why?
I didn't ask Darby that.
You don't know about the secret laws and how that works then? I mean, the town of Ithaca is also an interested party, and they have joined the town of Ulysses as well.
Well,
Like-
does she say interested parties on the second page?
She said interested agencies, and why are we
Oh.
interested? That's my question.
Because there's a definition in the secret law of who interested parties are,
Right,
and we must fall within that.
that's what I wondered why.
Why?
Why seeker says we're interested. What their reason
Oh.
is for making us interested.
Oh,
I can
I
only assume
never,
because
uh,
we're contiguous border is all.
Yeah, that's what I can think of.
I didn't look at this
I have to be
definition in the
excused, I
secret.
saw the adjournment at 7 and I wasn't planning on being.
I don't, for me, I don't have any interest in being part of that. I don't think they're gonna listen to me anyway.
I will see everybody at the
Thanks.
next meeting.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night. See ya.
And also the other announcement is that Tompkins Community Council College, Community College has their courses out for people in business. There's for the public. Motion to adjourn?
Are we doing anything with this retirement pay?
We did it.
That was part of the audit plan. Or
That's
the
adjourned.
consent. Is that, oh, that's
That's Betty's report.
Betty, an extra one of, okay.
I second.
All right, thank you. There.